Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto surpassed Minato at a young age and becomes the strongest ninja in history. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Shouts and yells were heard in the waiting area in which a young, blonde boy and a white-haired man were sitting. The boy's hair was long and spiky, just like his father's. His sharp, azure blue eyes looked at the door in front of them in worry. The boy was wearing a dark blue, short-sleeved shirt with a red spiral in the middle and black pants. He also wore black sandals. The boy was 4 years old and his name was Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, son of Namikaze Minato, the 4th Hokage, and Uzumaki Kushina. The man, who was sitting next to Naruto, was his godfather, Jiraiya, one of the 3 legendary Sannin and the Toad Sage. The two of them were in a hidden cave which was known only for a handful of persons. You could ask why they were here. Well, Kushina was pregnant again. This time they would receive a daughter. As the two waited until either Minato or Tsunade would come out to get them, they heard a scream followed by Minato's curse. While Naruto didn't know what was happening, Jiraiya quickly stood up and rushed into the room. When he entered, he saw a cloaked man holding Naruto's sister with a kunai held to her throat. On the other side of the room, Minato and Tsunade were standing in front of Kushina, who was looking very tired. "Minato! What is going on here?" shouted Jiraiya, wanting to know who was attacking them. But Minato ignored his sensei and tried to calm their attacker. "Please calm down, there is no need to do that," Minato told the cloaked figure, but all he got was a shout of "I am as calm as I can get" from the cloaked person. In the next moment, the cloaked man threw Naruto's sister into the air and prepared to stab her, but before he could do it, Minato appeared next to her and jumped back. Suddenly he heard a hissing sound and looked at the blanket that was covering his daughter. With fast thinking, he used his most prized technique and teleported into one of his safe houses, leaving the 2 Sannin with Kushina and the cloaked person. Jiraiya turned to Tsunade and nodded to her, and she rushed at the man, who simply phased through her punch like a ghost. Suddenly Jiraiya was in front of the man with a Rasengan in his right hand and tried to hit the cloaked man, but it happened the same thing as with Tsunade. "Humph, I thought that the two of you would be a bit better," the cloaked person said, and rushed at Kushina, with his right hand extended, but right as he about to touch her, he phased through her again as Tsunade tried to punch him in back of his head. The cloaked person jumped back and made a set of hand seals pointing at Tsunade and Kushina. "Katan, Great Fireball Jutsu!" The cloaked person exhaled a large orb of fire which flew directly at Kushina and Tsunade. Jiraiya was about to start his own hand seals, but then everyone heard another voice. "Suetun, Water Wall Jutsu!" Naruto shouted and spat out a large amount of water in front of his mother and godmother, protecting them from the fire jutsu. Naruto suddenly took out a kunai and threw it at the cloaked figure. As expected, the knife passed through him, but no one expected Naruto to suddenly substitute with the throwing knife and punch the man in the head. To everyone's shock, Naruto's punch didn't phase through the cloaked person. The cloaked man stood there for a second in shock before he released a groan and turned around and hit Naruto with an uppercut to the young boy's abdomen, which made Naruto spit out blood and salvia. As Naruto slid of the man's arm and hit the floor, the last thing before everything went black was the cloaked man grabbed his mother, and they both vanished in a swirl. 1 year later. 1 year has passed since one of the most tragic days of Konoha. Exactly 1 year ago, the great Kyuubi no Yoko, the greatest and strongest of the tailed beasts, attacked Konohagakure no Sato. Many people died in the fight with the beast, but there were only 3 people who Naruto cared about. The first one was his mother, who died after having the Kyuubi extracted from her, but not before helping in sealing the beast again. The other one was his father, who died protecting the village by summoning the Shinigami and sealing the tailed beast. The last one was Naruto's little sister, who died because of a heart attack caused by the Kyuubi's killing intent focused on her. 1 year after Naruto's family died, he was heartbroken. Everything he loved died in one night. His parents while sealing the beast. His sister, for who he waited a whole year because of the beast. His godfather had almost no time to stay in Konoha as he had to maintain his spy network since the leaf was weakened now. His godmother had become the hospital head and had almost no time to be with him in these hard times. His grandfather figure, Sarutobi Hiruzen, become the Hokage again, and he had to take care of his family, and the village as well. But that didn't keep Naruto down for too long. He realized that crying will not help with anything. Since then he started to train. Every and single moment he had for himself he spent training. Either training physically, learning new taijutsu katas, learning new ninjutsu, learning fuinjutsu from his father and mother notes, or even simply reading about everything about being ninja. He did it all because every time he reminds himself about the dreadful night, he always comes to the same conclusion about the fight. He was useless. He couldn't protect the people he loved. He was weak. That was the reason why he trained so hard those days. It also helped to have an older brother figure who was a jonin and often could give him some tip and advice. And now here he was, sitting in a classroom, full of kids who were hoping to become ninjas of the leaf. Naruto wouldn't say that he was antisocial, but sadly he couldn't remember any of their names. Well, while he didn't know anyone, everyone knew him since he was the son of the Yondaime. Of course, like every popular boy, he had his fan club, which he rather would like to avoid for some more time. As their sensei entered and started the lecture about the history of the leaf, Naruto dozed off. He knew it already and the teacher knew it, because every exam they had him write, he always scored a 100%. That was the reason why Naruto didn't bother to listen to the teacher. Besides, he had better things to do. As Naruto closed his eyes, he started to replay the Night of Kyuubi attack. Naruto often did that, so that he can analyze the fight again and again. He didn't know why, but the ability of the cloaked person was intriguing Naruto to no end. The ability to phase through people, jutsu, and walls. It was a crazily powerful ability. If he could be able to replicate it, he would be always able to protect the people he loved. But first, he needed more knowledge on Fuinjutsu to be able to do something like that. For now, he had to focus on the basics. The summer came quickly on Konoha this year. The sun shone brightly and the slight breeze didn't do anything to cool the temperature down. It was Sunday noon and the giant star was at its highest above Konoha. As many students in Konoha Ninja Academy started to go out on the academy training ground for a break, one particular blonde boy was home, or more precisely in his family training ground, which was surrounded by various seals which prevented anyone from outside to see what was happening on the field. Naruto, who was wearing only black shorts and black shinobi sandals, was panting heavily while lying on his back with closed eyes. The now 5.5 years old academy student has just finished another training session. For the last 6 months, the blonde Uzumaki has been learning his father taijutsu style, the hummingbird style, which concentrated on lighting fast and precise attacks. The main problem with the style was that while Naruto was fast for his age, he was nowhere near as fast as he needed to execute most of the moves. That was the reason why Naruto has started to wear gravity seals which were designed by his father to expand his speed. Thanks to the Uzumaki healing factor, Naruto didn't get soreness so he could train every day without worrying to destroy his muscles. With this, Naruto decided that since he could spend the whole day training and not only half when he was attending to the academy, the last Namikaze decided that he would send a shadow clone to take his place in the academy. As Naruto lay there on the ground, he started to think about all that happened in the last months. Thanks to his previous training with Minato and Kushina, and now to his own training regime, Naruto was always at the top of his class in the academy. There was no one in his class or even the higher classes. Uchiha Itachi graduated the year that Naruto entered the academy, who could rival in the Namikaze abilities. That, of course, gained Naruto even more fangirls and even some fanboys. Thanks to being the best in the whole academy, Naruto quickly gained himself the title of a prodigy and genius. Of course, there were only a handful of people who understood the difference between these two titles. A child prodigy is someone who does things normal people do but at an unusually young age, whereas a genius does things that extremely few other people can do at all. In Naruto's opinion, he wasn't a genius, a prodigy yes, but not a genius. Naruto hated it when some civilians would compare his oh-so-mighty genius to his own father who was also dubbed as genius. The last time Naruto was shopping groceries, he overhears some Chunin comparing him to the Uchiha prodigy. Now, that got Naruto's interest. With the thought of having another prodigy to compare himself to, Naruto asked the Chunin about the said Uchiha. Sadly, he is informed that the now known Itachi was already genin, and it was very rare to find the boy outside a mission or while he was training. With the knowledge that most likely he wouldn't find the Uchiha, Naruto shrugged the matter off and went back training. After all, the two of them would meet one day. Clearing his head of thoughts, Naruto got up and went inside to take a shower, grab some money and go out for lunch. 5 minutes later, Naruto was walking down the street of Konoha with hands in his pockets. He was now also wearing a black t-shirt with the Namikaze clan's crest on the back. As Naruto passed another shop, he heard a familiar voice inside. Deciding to see who it was, the Namikaze boy entered the shop, which turned out to be a dango shop. As the blonde academy student looked around, he found Kakashi sitting with 5 other teenagers. As Naruto was about to leave, he heard Kakashi call to him, and when he looked over to where the group sat, he saw Kakashi waving to him and inviting him to join. As Naruto neared the group, he got a closer look at the other persons. They all looked to be Kakashi's age, which was 15. One of them was a male who had bowl cut, and was wearing green spandex under a Chunin vest, while his hitai was used as a belt. The person had black hair and matching eye color. From the descriptions that Kakashi gave the young boy, that would be the Umbu's best friend and self-proclaimed lifetime rival. My guy. The next one was another male who had black hair and brown eyes. He wore the standard Konoha ninja uniform with the sleeves rolled up halfway, Chunin vest, regular shinobi sandals, and hitai on his forehead. He had a cigarette in his mouth and 3 hairs on his chin. He was the son of the Sandaime Hokage and one of the rare futon users in Konoha. Sarutobi Asuma. The next person was a kunoichi in the regular Konoha uniform and a Chunin vest as well. She had long raven black hair and red eyes. She had also red lipstick on her lips. She was an upcoming genjutsu mistress. Yuhi Kurinai. The next one was also a female, who had her violet hair and a spiky ponytail. She had light brown, pupilless eyes, wears a fitted mesh bodysuit that covers her from her neck down to her thighs. Over this, she wears a tan overcoat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange miniskirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. The ex-apprentice of Orochimaru of the Sannin. Midarashi Anko. The last one was older than the rest of the group. He was 18 years old, male with brown, shoulder-length hair which hangs about his face and brown eyes. He wears his forehead protector like a bandana and the standard Konoha uniform with Jonin vest. Naruto also spotted a senbon in his mouth. He was one of the elite bodyguards for important daimyo who come to Konoha. Shirani Genma. Yo, Naruto. How is it going? Kakashi asked whilst reading his book when Naruto finally was close enough while the rest of the group made a place for the academy student to sit down and greeted him. Nothing much, just came out to eat something, the last Namikaze answered as he ordered some dango. After a moment everyone was talking again until a thought came across Kurina's mind. Shouldn't you be at the academy, Naruto-kun? Asked Kurina, looking at the young boy on her left. The blonde boy looked at her strangely and shook his head. I am at the academy, or more like my shadow clone is. I realized that I can get more training done while my clones attended the school, he said, shocking everyone besides Kakashi who looked at his friend with amusement. Why you can do shadow clone jutsu and still go train? Anko shouted. She couldn't understand how a 5-year-old boy could use a Jonin Kenjutsu and still go train like it was nothing. Naruto-san, how many shadow clones can you create? A curious Genma asked, and a few seconds later the blonde's answer floored everyone besides the silver-haired Jonin. Well, I can create 6 and then still go train. But if you asked me about the maximal amount I can do, then it would be 14. The boy answered with a smile while closing his eyes and tilting his head to the side, making Kurina suddenly squeal. How cute! The Chunin squealed and suddenly everyone's eyes were on her, making her blush in the embarrassment and look away, getting a few chuckles around the table. YOSH. Naruto-kun's flames of youth shine brightly. We must have a friendly spar one day, fan our flames of youth even brighter, shouted Guy while pumping his fist into the air, making everyone around the table to sigh while Naruto's sweat dropped. Ne kid, do you know your chakra affinity? Asuma asked while exhaling smoke from his lungs. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment but then shook his head. The Namikaze watched as Asuma took out a small piece of paper and handed it to Naruto. Channel your chakra into it, the smoking teen said. When Naruto channeled his chakra into the piece of paper, it crumbled at a small ball, and when Kakashi was about to tell the result, the small ball soaked suddenly, making all the shinobi present look wide-eyed. Holy shit, this kid has got 2 chakra affinities. Anko shouted out, gaining attention from a few civilians and ninjas around. That would be right, Kakashi said to himself, but Genma still heard him. What do you mean, Kakashi? Asked the oldest shinobi in the group, making Kakashi give them all an eye smile. I could tell you this, but he trailed off, making the group inch closer to him. But? They all asked in unison. But it's a secret, said the one-eyed Jonin with another eye smile, making everyone face fault. The group has spent some time speaking and eating, but after half-hour Naruto decided to head back to his home to train. 6 months later, Konoha Academy. When children in Konoha decide that they want to become ninja, they all have to graduate from the academy. Most children coming from clans enter the academy at the age of 7 because they are given 1 year to train with their families, while clanless students have to join at the age of 6. Of course, there are many cases where the children join the academy at a younger age. Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Itachi, Namikaze Naruto. The students then spend 6 years at the academy learning and training to prepare themselves for the lives of shinobi in their world. It was a well-known fact that not everyone that enters the academy will pass. There are always some dropouts who are not fit to become shinobi, but even with the fact that there are some dropouts, there are also some academy students who excel and are allowed to graduate earlier. Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kushina, Namikaze Naruto. Naruto, who now is 6 years old and was wearing long black pants, long-sleeved black shirt with the Namikaze crest on the back and his Hitai 8 on black cloth tied around his forehead, was sitting in a class full of 12 years old. He was the only of his class and the whole academy to graduate earlier this year. As the blonde Namikaze sat in the class, he couldn't help but smile with pride at himself. Obviously, there was a good reason to be proud of himself. He graduated from the academy at the same age that he should have joined the school. Now add to this fact that he graduated only after 1 year and the whole village is speaking about you. 2 minutes later a Chunin, who was the teacher of the current class, entered the class and started to read the team placement. Naruto muted him off until he heard his name being called. Namikaze Naruto, due to an unforeseen accident, Sandaime-sama decided to place you on a team with a Jonin and 1 Chunin. They told me to tell you to meet them at the training ground 28, said the Chunin, and after he ended the team placement, Naruto used Shunshin to leave the academy. Training ground 28. As Naruto entered the training ground, he saw 2 figures sparring in a clearing. Deciding to watch for a while, the blonde genin sat down under a tree and observed. From what he could see, one of them was wearing a standard Jonin uniform with a blue long-sleeved shirt and pants. He had short black hair and black eyes. The last thing Naruto saw was the Uchiha crest on the back of the Jonin vest. The second person looked younger than the first. He has onyx eyes, under which were long, pronounced tear troughs. He had jet black hair that was pulled back in a low ponytail, and his face was framed with center-parted bangs that extended to his chin. He was wearing a black shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back, bandages around his ankles, and black sandals. He wore tan pants with a weapons pouch strapped to his back. A few minutes later the two ended their spar and turned to Naruto. Namikaze Naruto? Asked the older one, making Naruto answer with a nod. Then I think introductions are in order, he said with a grin. My name is Uchiha Shursui and I am 11 years old. I have been jonin for the last 3 months. My likes are dango and good training and I dislike traitors. My hobbies are training with my best friend, Itachi, said the now known Shursui and then turned to the younger one. My name is Uchiha Itachi and I am 8 years old. I have been a chunin for 3 weeks. I like good sparring, onigiri, cabbage and dango. My dislikes are steak and traitor. My hobbies are training and visiting traditional Japanese cafes, said Itachi. My name is Namikaze Naruto. I have been genin for 1 day. My likes are ramen, playing shogi and training. I dislike fangirls and go. My only hobby is training, said the blonde. Alright, so now that we got done introductions, we can begin with a small spar to see how strong you are. After the match we can set a few formations and work on them for the rest of the week. What do you say? Shursui asked with another grin and the 2 younger ninjas nodded. Before we begin, what type of ninja are you, Naruto? I myself am a Kenjutsu ninjutsu fighter. While my Genjutsu is good and my Taijutsu could be a bit better. My chakra affinity is fire and I am good with wind chakra, the Jonin stated. I am good with Taijutsu and ninjutsu, and I use often kunai in close combat. My chakra affinities are lightning and water. I am adept with Genjutsu, but I have no Kenjutsu training. I am also learning Fuinjutsu and I am already on 4th of the 10 levels. What about you, Itachi-san? Asked the blonde turning to the young Uchiha heir. I am a Genjutsu and Shurikenjutsu specialist, but I am proficient with ninjutsu and fluent with taijutsu, but I also have no former Kenjutsu training. My chakra affinities are wind and lightning, the Chunin answered. So, what do you say about a light spar, Itachi, Naruto? Just don't kill each other, joked the oldest of the group as the 2 walked over to the middle of the clearing. The 2 boys created some space between each other, and waited until Shursui called the match. Begin! They heard the oldest member of the team shouted and rushed at each other. The 2 met in the middle of the clearing, their right forearms clashing with each other, while Itachi held Naruto's left fist. They tried to overpower the other until Naruto dropped down to the ground and launched a sweep kick. Itachi jumped over the kick and when he landed, he tried to kick Naruto with a roundhouse kick which Naruto blocked and retaliated with a right hook to Itachi's chin which connected, shocking the Uchihas. As Itachi stumbled back, he activated his Sharingan, making 1 Tomo spins in each eye. I can't underestimate him, he thought, and jumped back just in time as Naruto's roundhouse kick flew centimeters away from the Uchiha's temple. While being in midair, the Uchiha made a quick hand seal sequence. Katan, Great Fireball Jutsu. He spat out an orb of fire which flew at the 6-year-old boy, who started doing his own hand seals. Suetun, Water Wall Jutsu. Water created of the moisture in the air erected in front of Naruto, just in time to be hit by the ball of fire. As the 2 jutsu clashed, the fog was created, obscuring Naruto's vision for a moment, which Itachi needed to attack. The Uchiha appeared in on Naruto's left and hit him with a backhand to face, which made Naruto's head to turn and as Itachi was about to continue, another Naruto jumped from behind Itachi with a kunai in his hand. A clone! Thought the Uchiha with wide eyes. The Uchiha turned around and used his own kunai to block the attack, but on contact, the kunai and Naruto dispersed into lightning, shocking Itachi. Before he could do anything, the Naruto from behind kicked him in the back with a back kick, sending the Uchiha away. Shursui, who was watching the fight from afar, whistled to himself. That's some good tactics, he thought, seeing how Naruto tricked the Uchiha. As the younger from the 2 Uchihas stood up, he made a single hand seal. When Naruto tried to rush at the Uchiha, he found out that vines started to rise to form the ground, restricting him. He looked over to Itachi to the older boy to change into dozen of crows which flew at Naruto. Genjutsu, he thought and bit his lip to cancel the illusion, just in time to see the crows change into shuriken. The blonde boy quickly made a single hand seal and substituted with a log. Naruto looked around, trying to find Itachi from his hiding spot but soon stopped when he felt the cold metal on his throat and heard Itachi's voice. Give up, he said, making Naruto sigh and surrender. Well, that was some fight. You both truly deserve the title of a prodigy, Shursui said as he walked over the 2 boys. So, now that we know some of your abilities, we can go get some lunch and talk about our formations and tactics, he said. And so the 3 new teammates left the training ground. 1 month has passed since the formation of Team Shursui, or like the Konoha's population like to call them, Team Prodigy. The reason why they were called was that all 3 members of the team were prodigies in their own areas. For Naruto, it was Taijutsu, Fuinjutsu and Ninjutsu. For Itachi, it was Genjutsu and Shurikenjutsu. For Shursui, it was Kenjutsu and Ninjutsu. While the 3 shinobi were training for the last month, the news about such a team reached even the village hidden in the mist, which was the most isolated of the great 5 hidden villages. But is there something to be surprised of? It is not every day that a team full of prodigies is formed. Add to it the fact that 2 of them are Uchihas, and the 3rd one is the son of the Yondaime Hokage. As for the team, the first week they spend on training together, and creating various formations for all types of fights. Of course, they all trained individually as well to become stronger, and since they all were good in 1 or 2 fields, they helped each other out, becoming stronger even faster. In the 2nd week, they started doing D-rank missions, seeing how Naruto needed to gain the experience to be allowed to get a C-ranked mission. So the second week went with training and doing the chores. When the third week rolled in, they were finally allowed to do some easy C-rank missions, where most of them were some simply D-rank mission but outside Konoha. The fourth week was also spent doing C-ranked missions, but this time, they got a mission which included fighting. They were sent to deal with bandits that harassed a nearby village. It was also the first time that Naruto had to kill. Flashback. Team Shursui waited quietly in bushes, observing the camp full of bandits. As they waited for a good opportunity to attack, Shursui turned to look at his two companions. Alright, remember what I said before. Stick together and look for each other backs. We know that there are about 60 of them, but it is possible that there is a missing nin or some samurais. Better be safe than sorry, whispered the Jonin, getting 2 nods from the younger members of his team. How do we enter? Asked Itachi, who already had his Sharingan activated, as did Shursui. The older Uchiha was quiet for a moment until he answered. We will go with Formation D, remember, the mission said that we have to exterminate them all, reminded Shursui. They waited for another 10 minutes until Shursui nodded to Naruto, who went through hand sails at lightning pace, and then inhaled. Suetun, water platform. Naruto spat out a stream of water which started to create a small platform of water under the camp, but before anyone could see it, Shursui made several hand seals. Megan, false surrounding illusion, the older Uchiha said, making the water disappear from the bandits' view. They turned to Itachi, who just finished his own sequence of hand seals. Raitun, lightning current. Itachi shouted and touched the platform made of water and pushing his chakra through it, making the electricity to course through the water, shocking all the bandits. The combo was rewarded with multiple cries of pain and curses from the bandit camp. Let's go! Shursui shouted and the 3 jumped out from the bushes. By the time they were by the first bandit, the rest of the camp was out of their shock, which slightly surprised the group, seeing how this was supposed to make them shocked much longer. As they neared the first 2 bandits, Shursui took out his tanto and quickly slashed at the bandit's throat, killing the first, while Naruto took out a single shuriken and threw it, hitting the other bandit perfectly into the throat as well. They saw a group of 3 bandits with swords rush at them from left. I will take care of them, said Itachi and started going through a set of hand seals. When they were close enough, he exhaled large orb of fire which burned the 3 bandits. Naruto and Shursui went against a group of bandits who were brave enough to attack them, making quick job of them. When they were about to join Itachi, they had to jump away as 3 spikes of earth tried to impale them. When they looked over to where it came from, they saw a male bandit who had a kunai and was smirking at them. Well, who do I got here, said the bandit, who Shursui now recognized. Ryusa Juro, a B-ranked missing nin from Iwagakure, Shursui said, preparing for a fight. Juro grinned at being recognized. Well, I don't know who the hell you are, but this brat has to be the son of the Yellow Flash, Juro said and started to walk towards the 2 of them. Naruto, take the bandits, I got him, Shursui said, getting a nod from the youngest member of Team Prodigies. HN, do you really think you can match me, brat? The missing nin shouted and rushed at Shursui with a single kunai. Seeing the older shinobi rush him, the Uchiha took a defensive stance and blocked the first attack, dodged the following thrust, rolled away as Juro tried an axe kick to his collarbone, and ducked under a spinning kick. Seeing an opening, Shursui trusted his tanto at Juro's chest, but the missing nin parried the attack and got inside the Uchiha's defense. Juro launched an uppercut to Shursui's gut, and the moment his fist connected, Shursui vanished, springing the missing nin. Suddenly he heard Shursui's voice behind him. Shunshin no Jutsu. The missing nin tried to turn around, but at the moment he moved his head, he felt a searing pain in his chest. Looking down, he saw the tip of Shursui's tanto. I am possible, Juro said in disbelief as he looked the sword with wide eyes. After a moment Shursui took out his weapon and murmured under his breath. That is what happens when a chunin goes against a jonin, he said, and was about to rush into the fight until he felt his shinobi instincts scream at him. He turned around to see a shouting bandit rush at him with a katana. Shit, was the only thought of Shursui, but before he could hear anything, he saw a kunai fly past him and hit perfectly into the man's forehead, killing him instantly. The jonin looked to where the knife came from and saw Itachi with his right hand still outstretched. The 2 nodded to themselves and went to finish the rest of the camp. Flashback end. Now we find our 3 prodigies walking towards the Hokage's office since the Sandaime Hokage wanted to meet with them for their next mission, which was confusing since they took all of their mission from the mission assignment room. As the group walked the streets of Konoha, Naruto couldn't help but ask. Itachi, Shursui, do you know what type of mission the Sandaime might have for us? He asked as the unusual team neared the Hokage Tower. Honestly, I have no idea, but it must be pretty important if he wants us to meet with him, Shursui informed, getting a nod from Itachi. Soon the trio entered the Hokage office and waited for their leader to speak. Good morning, boys, said the old leader from his place behind his desk, which was full of unfinished paperwork. Good morning, Hokage-sama, the 3 young ninjas answered in unison, making the Hokage raise an eyebrow and smile slightly. Please take a seat, we have some things to discuss, Hiruzen said. A few moments later the 3 ninjas were seated in front of their leader, who by now gave them all a cup of tea. As you all know, news about your team have spread some time ago. And while people are not talking about your achievements, more about your backgrounds, you boys got pretty famous. That is the reason why many clients wish to hire you so they can see how strong your team is, the third Hokage said, getting nods from Team Shursui. Hiruzen couldn't help but chuckle seeing the three boys watching him quietly, not daring to speak without permissions. I have a mission for you three, an A-ranked mission. While I would never allow a genin or even most chunin on A-ranked mission, I know that the three of you will be able to do it. Do you accept? He asked seriously. The three boys looked at each other for a second and then turned back to the Sandaime. Yes, Hokage-sama, they said once more in unison, getting a few snickers from the ANBUs guarding the room, making Hiruzen's eyebrow to twitch that his personal protectors were so easily distracted. Clearing his throat, Sandaime took out a scroll from his desk and handed it to Shursui. Your mission is to meet with the Kazekage, his daughter and his personal escorts at our border and ensure that their trip to Konoha is without any incident. Do you have questions? Asked Sandaime as he took a sip from his teacup. Forgive me, Hokage-sama, but how many escorts does the Kazekage has with him? Itachi asked. Kazekage Dano has 4 ANBU level shinobi with himself, the old man answered. Why does Kazekage come to Konoha and for who should we be prepared? Asked Shursui. Kazekage Dano comes here to discuss the details of our new alliance treaty and the upcoming Chunin exams, explained Hiruzen. About who might attack you? I don't think any bandit will try anything, but there is always a possibility that an arrogant missing nin will try to attack you. Some may try to kill the Kazekage, some to steal his daughter and sell her, the old man said, getting nods from the three. What about the daughter? Naruto asked, making everyone look at him. He turned his head sideways to hide his mild blush. Hey! That is also intel, he reasoned, making the rest chuckle and in Shijui case, to laugh. Her name is Sabaka no Temari, the oldest child of Kazekage. From what I can remember, she is 5 by now and is coming here to see how politics are dealt with. The old man answered and dismissed the team who used Shunshin to appear outside the Hokage office. Alright, the Kazekage and his escorts are supposed to be at the border in 2 days. Go homes and pack for a week-long mission. We are meeting at the gate in 30 minutes and will be heading towards the border at a bit slower pace. If everything goes right, then we will have a night to rest before the Kazekage arrives, Shursui said, and after getting affirmative from his team they dispersed. 2 days later, Wind and Fire Country border. Team Shursui have just finished their quick breakfast, and were going towards the location they were supposed to meet with the Kazekage. Once they entered the clearing they had to wait a few minutes until they saw a carriage pulled by a horse, which was led by the front ANBU. There were 3 other ANBU, one on each side and one on behind. A few moments later the carriage stopped, and the front ANBU walked over to the middle of the clearing, as did Shursui. The Uchiha took out the mission scroll and gave it to the ANBU who inspected it, and he opened it. After reading the whole scroll he gave it back to Shursui and nodded to the Uchiha. My codename is Taka, leader of the Team Alpha. These are Gama, Tanuki, and Tokage. Kazekage-sama and Temari-sama are inside the carriage, Taka said, getting a nod from Shursui. My name is Uchiha Shursui, those two are Uchiha Itachi and Namikaze Naruto, the leader of Konoha's team said. Suddenly the door of the carriage opened and the Kazekage came out with his daughter following him. Seeing their leader in front of them, the 4 ANBU quickly knelt in front of the wind shadow. Kazekage-sama! They shouted in unison. Seeing the leader of Sunigakure, Team Shursui bowed to the older man, showing their respect. So Hokage-sama did send my requested team for the mission. I haven't truly believed that he would do it, but that is good, Raza said. It's an honor to meet you, Kazekage-sama, Shursui said, making Naruto and Itachi nod, making the Yondaime Kazekage raise an eyebrow. From what I heard you are the only one who speaks openly in your group, Raza commented, making Shursui grin. You see, Kazekage-sama, we decided that only one should act as the leader of the group and as the oldest and for now the strongest member of our team. I was chosen, the dark-haired Jonin answered honestly, making the Kazekage raise an eyebrow once again. What do you mean by saying for now the strongest, Shursui-san? The auburn-haired ninja asked curiosity. Well, you see, Kazekage-sama, both Itachi and Naruto are learning at an amazing pace. I would say give or take 3 years and they will surpass myself, the Sharingan user said, surprising the leader of Sunigakure. He turned to the 2 boys. Itachi-san, Naruto-san, how old are you 2? Asked the Yondaime Kazekage, making the 2 boys to look at Shursui who nodded, allowing them to answer. I am 8 years old, Kazekage-sama. Itachi was the first who answered the question. I am 6 years old, Kazekage-sama, Naruto answered honestly, making the Sunigakure leader be even more shocked. He is only 1 year older than Temari, and he is already a genin taking on A-ranked missions, thought Raza in his mind, not being able to comprehend how strong someone so young could be. Before anyone could say something, they all turned to a new voice that entered the conversation. Tusama, the boy is no older than me, so why can he be ninja and I can't? She asked as she looked at the Kazekage, who closed his eyes for a second to think about how to answer this question. Their reason why he is a ninja by his age is that he is a prodigy, one that is found once in a generation, and before you say me that you are also a prodigy, I have to inform you that he is teamed with 2 other prodigies and was trained by his father, the Yondaime Hokage, Raza said with closed eyes, but he could feel his daughter glare at the Yondaime Hokage's legacy. So he thinks he is so great because he is a prodigy? I will show him that I am better than him. She thought to herself with determination, still glaring at Naruto, who by now was sweating slightly. Well, I think we should get going if we want to be at Konoha's gates tomorrow morning, Shursui said, making the swan leader nod and head back with his daughter to their carriage, and the group soon started to walk towards the Hidden Leaf village at a relaxed pace. 2 hours later, the group of 1 civilian, 1 genin, 1 chunin, 1 jonin for A and BU, and 1 kage has been traveling through the forest in the Land of Fire for 2 hours by now. The travel was spent in relative silence, which was only interrupted by the A and BU once. They decided that now they were 7 instead of 4, they could change their positions. Naruto was now walking on the front and Shursui and Itachi were on the behind. The 4 A and BU spread, 2 on each side. Gamma and Tanuki were on the left side of the carriage, while Tokage and Taka were on the right side. As they walked through the silent forest around them, Naruto couldn't shake off the feeling that something is going to happen. He didn't know what it meant, or why he felt like this, but somehow, it gave him this uneasy feeling. Minutes passed and the feeling grew stronger and stronger, but it was as silent as always. The only noises there were the footsteps of the horse, himself, Shursui, Itachi, the 4 A and BU, and there were too many footsteps. Before Naruto could shout out the warning, dozens of kunai were thrown at the 4 A and BU, which were too surprised to react in time. They all died instantly. Gamma had his heart pierced through by kunai. Tokage got hit with 2 kunai in his face, each drilling through his eyes. Tanuki's whole body was obliterated with kunai, which pierced 4 of the vital points. Taka was killed by a single kunai to his throat. Suddenly 4 figures jumped in front of the carriage, making the 3 young shinobi turn to them. They saw that they all had one thing in common. They all had a slashed Awagakure Hitaiite. What do you want? Naruto demanded as he took out 2 kunai and settled in a defensive, making the 4 missing nins from IWA to laugh at Naruto. The blonde was soon joined by Shursui, who had his tanto unsheathed, and Itachi, who a single kunai. Now all of them were ready to fight. Well, normally I would tell you, but somehow I am not in the mood, so just die, shouted one of them, who the team Shursui declared the leader of the group. The leader flew through a few hand seals, making the 3 Konoha ninjas to tense. When he finished he slammed his both hand on the ground and shouted, Doton, raising earth spikes. Large spikes rose from the ground at an amazing speed, catching the teen prodigy of the guard, and before any of them could move, they were impaled by the jutsu. Blood sprayed everywhere while the last light of light vanished from the 3 pairs of eyes. Temari, who was watching from the carriage, shrieked in horror, and Raza prepared himself for the upcoming battle. So much for an escort and a safe trip, he thought grimly. So much for an escort and a safe trip, Raza thought grimly and stood up to leave the carriage. A moment before he could open the door, the 3 dead bodies dissolved into crows which started to around the 4 missing nins. The IWA group was shocked that they got caught in a genjutsu, and quickly dispelled it. As soon as the illusion vanished, they had to jump away as a large water dragon flew at them. They all jumped in different directions, scattering, but one of them was unlucky enough to get hit in tight, making the missing nin to cry out in pain. As soon as the ninja who was hit landed, Naruto was in front of him with 2 kunai, and ready to fight. Even though he was injured, he took out a kunai, and chuckled darkly. Do you really think you can beat me, boy? I am a Sumidosu, a B-ranked missing ninja, and you are nothing more than an average genin, the man shouted and burst into mad laughter while rushing Naruto, who prepared himself. With Shursui, the young jonin followed the leader of the group into the forest. He spotted the shinobi and threw a dozed of shuriken at him. Kaido, the leader of the group, saw this and deflected the throwing stars with a kunai. The 2 landed on different branches and looked at each other. HN, Shursui the teleporter, an A-rank ninja from Konoha, said Kaido with a smirk and took a kunai out. Kaido, an ex-jonin from IWA, an A-ranked missing nin, Shursui commented while activating Sharingan and unsheathing his tanto. Let me show you why they call me Shursui the teleporter, the Uchiha added and used Shunshin to disappear. With Itachi, the young Uchiha heir saw his teammates rush after the opponents, but he himself stayed behind, waiting for the one who didn't jump into the forest. Suddenly the ground under Itachi erupted into several spikes which tried to impale the Uchiha, but he easily jumped over them. As soon as Itachi's feet touched the ground, the young Chunin had to jump away as his opponent tried to smash him with a giant fist, made of stone. While the Chunin was mid-air, he went through a few hand seals. Katan, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. He spat out 5 fireballs, which flew at the IWA nin very fast. The missing nin didn't even try to evade the attack, he simply batted the fireballs away with his stone fist. The man grinned when he saw that Itachi was going through another hand seal sequence. Show me what you got, little guy, the man shouted and rushed at the Uchiha who ended the seals. Raitun, Thunderball Jutsu. The Uchiha shouted and a sparkling yellow ball formed between his palms. As the missing nin was close enough, Itachi pushed the ball at his opponent, who didn't even have time to curse before the attack hit him. The young Sharingan user watched as the IWA nin's body was electrocuted until his body started to smoke. He couldn't help but smirk in satisfaction when the giant fist of stone crumbled down. Well, that was easy. I wonder how Shursui and Naruto are doing, he asked himself while walking towards his opponent to cut his head off and seal it away by a scroll that both he and Shursui got from Naruto for such occasions. With Naruto, the blonde shinobi parried the 2 first slashes at his face by Asumi. The blonde dropped low as the missing nin tried to kick Naruto in the face with a back kick and quickly made a sweep kick, which made Asumi fall down. Seeing an opportunity, Naruto tried a thirst at the down ninja, who saw this and was able to roll away just in time and countered with a kick to Naruto's chin which sends the blonde flying away. Before Naruto could fly too far, Asumi caught the blonde's leg and threw him down on the ground, creating a crater. When Naruto hit the ground, he gasped in pain and spat out blood. The blonde quickly tapped the ground lightly, and created a single hand seal for substitution when he saw Asumi launch an axe kick to where he was lying. When the B-ranked ninja saw that he destroyed a log instead of a genin, he growled and made several hand seals. Doton, mud shot jutsu. He spat mud at a branch on which Naruto was going through his own sequence of hand seals. Raiton, disruption wave jutsu. He pointed his palms at the incoming mud and suddenly blue lightning shot from his hands and hit the mud. Asumi's jutsu suddenly stopped, shocking slightly the XIW nin. Before Asumi could say anything, Naruto sped through another hand seals. Suiton, water dragon jutsu. Suddenly from the moisture in the air, a large orb of water surrounded Naruto, and not a second later a dragon shot out from the orb. Asumi watched with wide eyes as the large dragon flew at him. Suddenly he understood the danger in front of him and started going through his own set of hand seals. But before he could finish, a light shined under him, and when he looked down, he saw a paralyzing seal under him which took effect immediately, paralyzing the missing nin before he could finish the sequence of hand seals. When did he put it down here? He asked himself, and then remembered that he was still in the crater in which Naruto lying for a few seconds. If he did this, then he must have it done in about 2 seconds. Asumi shouted in disbelief in his head. You little sure dash. He was cut off as the B-rank Suiton ninjutsu hit him perfectly into his torso. Naruto watched as his opponent was carried away, and as he hit the first tree, he flew further. The second tree, he was still carried away by the water dragon. Only after Asumi hit the third tree did the jutsu stop, letting Asumi hit the floor dead. As Naruto walked over to Asumi, he sighed and prepared himself for the hardest part. He took out a kunai and channeled chakra through it, and cut off Asumi's head. The young genin quickly sealed the head away and burned the body of the deceased ninja. Alright, let's see how the rest is holding, he told himself, and jumped through the branches towards the carriage. With sure sway, the Uchiha appeared behind Kaido and tried to slash him with Tanto, but the missing nin was able to block the slash and kick Sure Sway in the gut, but to his surprise, Sure Sway vanished. Kaido's senses shouted at him to dodge, and it was a good thing he has done so, because if he didn't have ducked, Sure Sway would have cut his head off. As Kaido was in midair, he made 2 hand seals and pointed at Sure Sway, who was making his own hand seals. Doton, raising needle jutsu. He shouted in a thin, but very fast needle shot out from ground, aimed at Sure Sway's face. The Konoha Jonin saw this thanks to his Sharingan, and tilted his head to the side to avoid getting hit. Sure Sway quickly jumped into the air and finished his hand seals. Katon, Dragon's Breath Jutsu. Sure Sway exhaled an orange-yellow continuous flame that flew at Kaido, who quickly places his palms on the ground. Doton Earth Wall Jutsu. A thick wall rose in front of the Jonin, just in time to protect him from the flames. He waited for about 5 seconds until the attack sustained and then jumped over the wall. Before he could touch the ground, Sure Sway threw 6 kunai at him. Each of the projectiles hit in a vital spot, but before Sure Sway could smirk at his victory, Kaido dissolved into the mud. Clone, the Uchiha thought and jumped back, but at the very moment his feet left the ground, a pair of hands shot out from underground and caught the Uchiha's ankles. Die! Sure Sway heard from behind himself, and when he turned around, he saw Kaido rushing at him with a spear of stone instead of his right hand. The spear went perfectly through the Uchiha's heart, making his eyes to widen as blood started to spill from his mouth. You know, Sure Sway said weakly as the light of life started to fade from his eyes. You are not the only one who can make clones, Sure Sway said with a smirk at the end, and he added one last word. Boom! Suddenly the Sure Sway that Kaido had killed started to shine, and exploded the next second. The real Sure Sway who was watching it from one of the branches couldn't help but smirk. Remember, gotta thank Itachi for creating this jutsu, he told himself while waiting for the smoke from the explosion to dissolve. A few moments later, the smoke was gone and Sure Sway had a clear look at what happened there. Inside a crater was lying a half-dead Kaido. Half of his body was so scorched that it was fully black, while the other half had third-degree burns. Lucky for Sure Sway, Kaido's face was still intact so he could collect the prize for his death later. After he sealed the head, he went back to where the carriage was left. With Itachi, a few moments after the young Uchiha defeated his opponent, he was joined by Sure Sway. Raza was quite frankly surprised how fast and efficiently Itachi defeated his opponent, but when the young Jonin came back after 2 minutes, clearly victorious from his battle, he was stunned. Of course, no one ever told him that Naruto always did something that no one expected to happen, so when the young blonde came back almost with no injuries, Raza couldn't help but stare. A 6-year-old boy just killed a B-ranked missing nin, and he looks like he almost did not get hit, the Kazekage commented in his head. If those 3 are a testament of the power of Konoha, then I must make sure that the alliance between our villages will stay intact, he told himself. The trio turned back to the Kage and walked over to him and his daughter, who stormed out of the carriage as soon as she saw that Team Sure Sway came back from their fights. I think that we should keep going, Kazekage-sama, Shursui said as the two groups neared. The swan leader was about to say something but was cut off by his daughter, who was glaring at Naruto and poking him in the chest with her right index finger. Do you know how much you three scared me? She asked, obviously speaking only to Naruto, who was looking at her with confusion, but before he could answer, she continued. I thought you three were dead and that they would attack us. She shouted and threw her hand into the air. Temari-san, we dash. Naruto was cut off by Temari, who was once again glaring at him. I don't want to listen to your excuses. If you are sorry, you will show me that, do you understand? She asked in a dangerous voice, making Naruto sweat and look at his teammates for help. Naturally, both Shursui and Itachi were suddenly interested in the forest around the group. Traitors, the blonde thought, and looked back to the Kazekage's daughter, who was still staring at him with this unnerving look in her eyes. Then how should we show that we are sorry? He asked her, making her give him a grin, unnerving Naruto even more. When we get back to Konoha, you will take me to a sweet shop and pay the bill for my food, the Suna princess stated, making Naruto raise an eyebrow, but he nodded nevertheless. Alright, I guess that's alright, he answered. The blonde shinobi watched as Temari nodded and went inside the carriage, closely followed by her father. As the door closed, Naruto turned round to find a grinning Shursui. What are you two grinning about? He asked his teammates. If it was possible, Shursui's grin got even wider. Well, we just wanted to ask, how does it feel to go on a date with Kazekage's daughter? Asked the 11-years-old jonin. Naruto looked at his friend with a calm expression and then answered with a smirk. It was obvious that you would ask me about it. After all, what do you know about relationships with girls? The young genin asked with his smirk, making Shursui's eyes to widen as Naruto walked past him. Itachi looked at his cousin and shook his head with a smirk on his own. You know, he is right. Even I have a closer relationship with Izumi than you with any girl, the Uchiha heir stated and suddenly gasped. Or maybe you are? Itachi let the sentence hang on. The oldest Uchiha in the group got red. From embarrassment or anger, Itachi couldn't tell and shouted as loud as he could. I am not gay. Itachi raised an eyebrow and an amused smile formed on his face. I have never implied that you are a homosexual-oriented, Itachi said, and Naruto couldn't hold it anymore and burst into laughter. As the group departed, they forgot that there were 4 ninjas who ambushed them. Such a kid is going to be interested in the Namikaze brat skills, Konoha's gate. 2 days have passed since Team Shursui met with the Kazekage, and the now group of 5 and 1 horse were standing in front of the huge gate of Konoha. Raza and Temari left the carriage so the Chunin guards could take care of their horse, meanwhile the two of them would speak with the Hokage. Of course, the friendly old man was waiting for the group just outside the gates, so when the two leaders met, Hiruzen dismissed the team and told them to meet with him tomorrow for a report of the mission. A few minutes after being dismissed, the 3 ninja were walking through the main street of Konoha, talking to each other about random subjects, and greeting back the villagers that waved and greeted them. So I was thinking that with Naruto's date we could take a weekly break so we can relax and train personally, Shursui said with a grin when he saw Naruto narrow his eyes on him. For the last time, it's not a date, Naruto shouted, gaining attention from every civilian around. Soon the news about the Yandame's son dating someone could be heard through whole Konoha. I agree with you, Naruto must surely need some time to prepare himself for the date, Itachi added with a smirk when he saw Naruto twitch. It becomes a common joke between the two Uchihas used to tease Naruto during the boring 2 days of the trip. I hate you guys, Naruto shouted and used Shunshin to go home. When the blonde genin was away, Itachi turned to his cousin and raised an eyebrow. Do you think that we might have overdone it? The Uchiha heir asked, making Shursui look thoughtful for a moment before he shrugged. Nah, he will be fine, the jonin answered with a dismissing wave of a hand, making Itachi's sweat drop. Well, I gotta go, my mother is surely worried about my on an A-ranked mission, Jana, he said and used Shunhin to disappear, leaving Itachi alone. Right, what to do, he mused to himself until he heard a voice in the back of his head. With a nod, he changed his path. Dango does seem right after a hard mission, he stated. The next day, 1 day after their return, we can see Naruto walking through the streets of Konoha in one of Konoha's restaurant district. When he turned a corner, he saw a small ramen bar with a sign which read Ichiraku's Ramen, and went inside. After he ordered, he waited a few minutes until his food was ready. As Naruto finished his second bowl of ramen, another person entered the bar. Yo, the letter which you left at my house said that you wanted to meet with me as fast as possible. What can I help you with? Asked a familiar voice of his brother figure. Naruto swallowed the noodles he had in mouth, and then turned to the silver-haired ANBU captain. Kakashi, I need your help with creating a jutsu, the Namikaze heir stated bluntly, making Kakashi's single eye to widen in surprise. Naruto sighed and leaned on the table. I want to create a jutsu similar to Chidori but without the tunnel vision, will you help me? The genin asked. Naruto, you know that creating a jutsu is a process that takes much time? I know it may sound bad coming from me, but I had help from my father's notes, because I didn't create Chidori from scratch. It was actually my father's project but he wasn't able to finish it, the silver-haired ninja said. Naruto nodded and grinned. I know Kakashi, but have you forgotten the good thing about shadow clones? Naruto asked, making the older ninja sigh in defeat. Alright, I will help you, but you have to tell me some more detail about what exactly we are trying to create, the ANBU member said, making Naruto pump his fist into the air. Basically, I am trying to develop a better version of your Chidori which will allow me to use it without the tunnel vision, Naruto said briefly, making Kakashi nod sagely and start to scratch his chin in thoughts. Well, we can try, but I am not sure how long it will take or if it actually can be done, the one-eyed ninja said, making Naruto take out money from his pocket and drag Kakashi the training ground behind the Namake's house. While they were walking, Kakashi asked a question that had bugged him since Naruto asked him for his help with creating a jutsu. Naruto, why do you want to create a jutsu right now? Kakashi asked, making the blonde give him a grin. You know, I can't be the only one on our team who didn't create a jutsu, Naruto answered, making Kakashi raise an eyebrow. Huh? Was all Kakashi said, making Naruto sigh. Well, Itachi has created his own version of Shadow Clone, the Clone Great Explosion, and Shursui made a powerful Katan ninjutsu, the Dragon's Breath. So I don't want to be the only one on our team who hasn't created his own technique, Naruto answered, making the silver-haired ANBU to chuckle. So it about rivalry? The older ninja asked, making Naruto nod slightly. Yeah, but not completely. I also want to create a trademark jutsu for me, you know, like yours Raikiri and Tusan's Hiraishin. I thought about completing the Rasengan, but it wouldn't be the same, the blonde answered with a shrug. So if you want to be known for your own jutsu, does that mean that you won't learn the Hiraishin? Asked Kakashi with a raised eyebrow. Naruto grinned at his older brother figure. Of course I will, but I will not stop there. If I truly want to surpass Tusan, I will have to learn Hiraishin and then evolve it to whole another level, the blonde genin said, making Kakashi's single eye to widen. A Hiraishin on a higher level? The one-eyed genius asked himself in wonder, but before he could think too much, Naruto grabbed his hand and started rushing towards his house. Later that day, after Temari came back to her hotel room from the talks with Hokage, she flopped down on her bed, face first. Gah! It was so boring, and we hadn't even had time for lunch, the blonde girl complained in her thoughts until she remembered that Naruto promised her free meal at a sweets shop. With this in mind, she stood up, suddenly not exhausted, and left her room to ask someone where she may find her fellow blonde. Once she was outside the hotel, she spotted an older woman who was sitting on a porch of her house, so she decided to ask her for directions. Hello, Temari said awkwardly, not sure how to ask her question. The elderly woman turned to the young Suna princess and smiled. Good afternoon, young one, what can I help you with? The woman asked. I wanted to ask if you may know where I can find Namake's Naruto, the blonde girl asked, making the woman's smile widen. Ah, so you must be the one he is taking on a date. The news about this got pretty quickly around Konoha, the woman said, making the blonde girl blush and look away from the elderly woman. And no, it must be a mistake, we are not going on a date, we are only kids, Temari reasoned. A date? I am gonna kill him when I meet him, she promised in her mind. Yes, of course. If you want to meet Namake-sama, you should probably search at Ichiraku's ramen bar or at his house, the woman answered, making the 5-year-old girl raise an eyebrow. Namake-sama? The girl asked again, making the elderly woman to nod. Yes, he is the son of our village's biggest hero, the one who defeated the almighty Kyuubi no Yoko, the Yondaime Hokage, the woman explained, surprising Temari since she didn't know that Naruto was the son of the Yondaime Hokage. Do you know where his house is? The daughter of Kazekage asked, and after getting the directions from the older woman, she bid her farewell and followed the directions. Namake's house. Naruto, Kakashi and 300 shadow clones of Naruto were sitting in the backyard with tons of books, scrolls, and notes. The original Naruto and Kakashi were sitting on a bench under the shadow of a tree, while the clones were divided into 60 groups, each group having 5 clones in a group. The large had one goal, to create a new Raiden Jutsu. Na Kakashi ni, what if we dash? Naruto was cut off when he heard someone to ring at his door. I will be right back, Naruto said and went to open the door. When he opened the door, he saw Temari standing there. Hello? He asked, uncertain of what to do. Hello, Naruto-san, I am hungry, Temari answered, making Naruto blink twice. Then go eat something, the blonde boy advised, making Temari blush and look away. Shut up. I know that I should eat something, she shouted and narrowed her eyes at Naruto, who was looking at her with confusion. All right, have a nice day, he said with a smile and closed the door right in front of Temari's face. Naruto turned around to go back to training, but suddenly the door shot open and hit him in the head, which resulted in him falling face first into the ground. You jerk! Temari shouted, making Naruto stand up and glare at her. What did you say? Naruto shouted back and leaned forward, making Temari also lean forward and poke him into his chest. I said, you are a jerk. She poked him with every word, making Naruto narrow his eyes on her. Yeah? Naruto, shut up. Both Naruto and Temari shouted at Kakashi, who entered the house and was looking blankly at them until he shrugged back and went back to the backyard. Naruto took a calming breath and then turned back to his fellow blonde. So, Temari-san, I am very busy, so please tell me what you want, the blonde genin asked, making Temari lean back. I want sweet chestnuts, she answered, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. You promised to take me to a sweet shop and buy me sweets, she clarified, making Naruto sigh. Alright, let me just dash. He was cut off when a grinning Temari took him by arm and rushed to the nearest sweet shop. Wait, I don't have any money with me, he shouted while Temari dragged him. You can put them on tab or something, she answered and entered the first sweet shop they encountered. When they took a sit, a waitress came and took their orders since Naruto decided to eat something as well. After the waitress was gone, Naruto created a shadow clone who went back to his house to inform Kakashi and take some money to pay for their meal. During their wait for the food, the two kids started some light conversation, which was mostly about comparing the lifestyle of a Konoha citizen with their Suna counterpart. Soon their food was delivered and the two of them moved to get to know each other a bit more. They mostly spoke about hobbies, dreams, favorite food and more unimportant things. Thanks to their conversation, Naruto learned that Temari's favorite foods were sweet chestnuts and kenshin soup. He has also learned that Temari's hobby was flora appreciation, while her dream was to become a known and powerful jonin. Even after the two were done with their food, they still stayed and talked to each other. Naruto had to admit even though Temari was bossy, she was someone nice to speak to. Of course, their little chat couldn't last forever, especially in Konoha. Yash! Let's have a youthful spar after our lunch, Asuma. The loud voice of Guy gained Naruto's attention. When the blonde looked to where the voice came from, he saw Asuma, Guy, Kurenai, and Genma enter the dango shop. Of course, I am eating at an unusual place and they all decide to come here. How lucky, Naruto thought sarcastically, but he was cut from his musing when he heard Kurenai's voice. My Naruto-kun, why don't you introduce us to your friend? Kurenai asked while the group of four took seats at Naruto's and Temari's table. On Naruto's left was now Guy and then Genma, while on Temari was sitting opposite the Namikaze and to her left was first Kurenai and then Asuma. Everyone, this is Sabako no Temari, daughter of the Yondaime Kazekage. Temari, those are my Guy, Shiranui Genma, Yuhi Kurenai, and Sarutobi Asuma. Naruto introduced them and suddenly looked at a clock. Oh, it is so late, I have to get back to training, I will see you all later. Temari-san, do you want to meet here tomorrow again? Naruto asked, surprising Temari slightly. Yes, I would like that, she answered with a smile that made Naruto blush slightly. The genin quickly turned around and rushed back home. Ja-na! He waved over his shoulder. Temari excused herself and went back to her hotel soon after Naruto was away. Unbeknown to the two kids, the older ninjas snickered at how the two interacted. 3 days later, and the next 3 days passed pretty quickly for Naruto and Temari. During the last 3 days, the two got a bit closer and considered each other friends, so they spent the last days together. It would be usual Norat and Temari meeting for a breakfast for which Naruto would pay, then the two would spend some time talking to each other. After that, they would head back to Naruto's house where they would meet with Kakashi. The two shinobi trained for the next 4 hours with the help with shadow clones while Temari watched and even helped, which showed how intelligent the girl was because even though she wasn't a ninja, she was able to help the blonde by creating his jutsu. The two would then go on lunch together, for which Naruto would pay. Again, after they ate, they would go sightseeing Konoha or just rest on some training ground or at Naruto's house. Now the two of them were standing with the Kazekage, the Hokage and a new squad of A and B from Suna at the Konoha gate. The two leaders exchanged farewells, SD did the two kids. So you are going back? That wasn't a question, but a simple statement from Naruto. Temari nodded subtly. Yeah, I am going back, Temari said. After a few moments of silence, Naruto rubbed back of his head and looked away to hide his slight blush. I am gonna miss you, you know, the blonde boy said and Temari smiled slightly. Oh, are you going to cry now? She teased with a smile, making Naruto twitch and point accusingly at her. I was honest here. He shouted but was surprised when she nodded and quickly hugged him, shocking the blonde genin. But before he could react, she withdrew back. Gotta go, bye Naruto-kun, she said and rushed inside the carriage, leaving a dumbstruck Naruto alone with a blush on his face. The Namikaze has not moved until the carriage and ANBU squad had not vanished from the sign. Naruto-kun, huh? He asked himself, and with a grin he walked back to his home for his training with Kakashi. A week after the Kazekage's departure, for the next week since Temari and her father had departed for Suna, Naruto had thrown himself into constant training, with only one objective in his head, creating his personal jutsu. Of course, that didn't mean that he was training physically or that he even used chakra. Actually, after Kakashi taught Naruto the basic principles of creating jutsu, and his clones came with a good idea how the technique is supposed to work, which would take more time were it not for Temari, Naruto spent the whole time in his father's or actually in now his own study where he worked on the jutsu theory. Even though he worked the whole time, Naruto still had time to meet with his older brother and to go out with his team, but most time was spent in his study. Now that the 1 week for rest was over, normally Naruto would meet Shisui and Itachi at their usual training ground, but the older of the Uchihas came yesterday evening and informed Naruto to meet with them at the Hokage Tower. So as Naruto was walking through the busy streets of his beloved village, he couldn't help but twitch as he heard that some people were still talking him dating the Suna princess even now. With a sigh, he entered the Hokage Tower and walked over to where he saw his teammates. Good, now that you are here Naruto, we can meet the Hokage, Shisui said with a grin, making Naruto raise an eyebrow when he saw that even Itachi was grinning. Alright, what is happening here? He asked, making them grin even wider. You will hear in a few moments, Itachi answered and then started walking towards the Hokage office, soon followed by his teammates. After they knocked on the door and were allowed to enter, they all bowed in front of their leader. Hokage-sama, they greeted in unison, amusing the old leader. Please take seats, Hiruzen said, and the three shinobi sat down in chairs in front of their leader. You might be wondering why I have summoned you, or it is most likely only Naruto who is wondering, the old man said with a smirk when he saw Naruto's right eye twitch twice. Indeed, Hokage-sama, what is happening? Naruto asked, making the Sandaime nod and take out his pipe. The old man used a mirror katon jutsu to make the tobacco burn. The reason why I called you is that after getting a report of your improvement and skills not only from Shisui and Itachi but from the Kazekage himself who watched your fight during your last mission with a jutsu of his, I have decided to give you a field promotion to the rank of Chunin, Sandaime informed Naruto, who was looking at him blankly. Of course we can wait with your promotion to the upcoming Chunin exams that are taking place in 2 weeks. But if you will fail at the exams you will have to wait 6 months, Hiruzen said and puffed out smoke while waiting for the answer from Naruto. The blonde himself was at a dilemma. One way I can get promoted now, or the other I can fight in front of all those people and make a name for myself. He debated until he came to the final decision. I will take the Chunin exams, Hokage-sama, he said, making Sarutobi raise an eyebrow. Oh? Why would you do this, Naruto-kun? The elder man asked, curious why the blonde would rather wait for promotion than get it now. Well, the first reason is that I will be able to make a name for myself, especially with all these people watching, which will be the first step towards my ultimate goal, Naruto commented. Ultimate goal? Itachi asked, also curious about his teammate's decision. The blonde nodded and continued. Yes, my ultimate goal is to surpass my father, the young Namikaze answered, making the 3 other ninjas in the room nod. That makes sense, they all thought. And what is the second reason? Hiruzen asked, making Naruto grin and rub the back of his head. Hee, it will be a good chance to present my newest jutsu, the blonde genin said proudly, shocking everyone else. Your new jutsu? Shisui asked, making Naruto blush in embarrassment and laugh awkwardly. Well, there is a tiny, little chance that the jutsu is not finished yet, but I will be able to complete it for the 3rd stage of the exams, Naruto said with a nod of his head as he crossed his hand over his chest and closed his eyes. Thanks to his closed eyes he couldn't see the 3 sweat drops of his teammates and the Hokage. Great, then there is only one thing we have to speak about and then you 3 are dismissed, Hiruzen said and turned to Naruto who was once again looking at the Sarutobi. Naruto-kun, do you want to take the exams solo or do I have to find 2 genin who want to enter the exams? Hiruzen said and Naruto quickly shook his head. No, there is no need for you to search for other genin, I can take the exams alone, the young Namikaze answered and the Sandaime nodded. The Konoha leader took a form from his drawer and handed it to Naruto. Very well then, Namikaze Naruto, the first part of the Chunin exams will commit in exactly in 14 days, on the 28th at 9:00 at the Academy's room 301, don't be late. Dismissed, Sandaime Hokage said and the 3 bowed and left the room. Once they were outside the office, Shisui turned to Naruto. Nah, Naruto, so what is this jutsu you are working on? What does it do? What's the name? The 11-years-old Uchiha asked but Naruto shook his head and smirked. You didn't want to tell me, then I won't tell, the blonde answered, making Hizui sigh and Itachi smirk. So, you have been in the academy for a year, graduated at 6 and after 1 month you are taking the Chunin exams, meaning you will be genin only for 2 months in total. Nice, Itachi commented, making Naruto turn to him and give him a cheeky grin. I can't allow you to outrank me, you know, the blonde Namikaze answered as they walked the stairs down. So, how about you? Won't you take the Jonin exams in 4 months, Itachi? Naruto asked, making Itachi shrug. Not sure, I mean yeah it would be cool, but I am not sure if I am ready to be a Jonin. So if in 3.5 months I will deem myself ready, I will take the exams, otherwise, I will wait another 6 months, the Uchiha said, making Naruto nod. They both turned to Shisui who sighed dramatically. I remember the good times when you both were only graduating from the academy and were nothing more than genin. Not someone who can take the Chunin and Jonin exams, Shisui said with a sigh and placed his hand over his heart. The times flow so fast, I think I am getting too old for this job, he said. The Uchiha made a pirouette and started to walk wobbly. The time when I am gonna die from the old age is nearing, too fast, he added and then suddenly gasped and fell down on the ground, face first. Both Naruto and Itachi stopped in their tracks and looked at the downed Uchiha for a moment, and then at each other. With a shrug they both walked away, making Shisui twitch. You 2 little brats, come back here! He shouted and rushed to catch up with his 2 teammates, who by now had already left the Hokage tower. The last 2 weeks passed very fast for the blonde soon-to-be Chunin. He was working furiously on jutsu and finally after 3 weeks of training with 300 shadow clones for 7 hours each day, he was close to finishing it. Of course, the blonde was so close to finishing it because thanks to the shadow clone jutsu he worked for about 5 years. How he loved the shadow clones. Of course, during the 2 weeks, Team Shisui has done several C-ranked mission, which was mostly some easy delivery or guarding missions, since Shisui and Itachi didn't want for Naruto to get injured before the exams. During the weeks, Naruto came to miss Temari. Of course, she was bossy and often would do things to annoy Naruto, but when she was in Konoha, Naruto at least had someone to talk to. That didn't mean he didn't like to talk with Shirsu, Itachi or Kakashi, but speaking with Temari was somehow different. The blonde Namikaze simply told himself that he missed her because she was the first female friend he had. Of course, he sometimes talked with Kurenai, but there was only 1 year difference between Naruto and Temari, while the difference between Naruto and Kurenai was 12 years. Besides, with time Naruto came to see Kurenai as somehow an older sister. The blonde genin was now walking towards the Konoha Ninja Academy where he is supposed to take the Chunin exam. When he entered the building, he went on the 3rd floor. He saw the long corridor, and slightly shook his head while making a ram seal. Kai, he murmured and dispelled the genjutsu and walked through the corridor at which end was a double door. He looked at it for a moment, and took a calming breath. He opened the door and was welcomed with a wave of killing intent, which didn't affect Naruto in the slightest. He walked past a few of the other genin, and stopped in a corner of the room. After a few seconds, an older boy from Konoha walked over to Naruto. "What a pipsqueak like you is doing here?" the boy asked with a laugh, making a few of the other ninjas laugh as well. Everyone who knew who Naruto was shaking their heads. The blonde looked at the older boy into eyes, and for a second the two of them made eye contact. Suddenly the older boy gasped and straightened. What's going on?" he asked with a pained voice. Naruto smiled at the older ninja and answered, "A paralysis genjutsu, quite useful, any?" Naruto asked and released the genjutsu. The blonde smiled once more, making the genin go back to his team, while almost everyone was talking with their teams about Naruto. A few minutes later the proctor of the first exam came into the room and told everyone to take a seat. The first stage was very easy for Naruto. It was a basic pop quiz but with questions that most jonin would have problems with. Luckily Naruto was kind of bookworm, so he was able to answer the question before he understood the meaning of the exam. The genin were supposed to gather information from 5 hidden Chunin who and answers. In the end, for the 10th question, the proctor tried an intimidation technique, but Naruto didn't get scared since he remembered that his mother was scarier than the jonin proctor. So after the first part of 3, Naruto and the rest of the remaining genin who wanted to be promoted walked with proctor of the second exam towards the Forest of Death, or Training Ground 44. Of course, Naruto and his 2 teammates had made a 4-day training trip to the forest after being formed as a team, so Naruto had some knowledge about what he should be prepared for. Unfortunately, most of the other genin had never entered the forest, or even some of them had never heard about this place. How unlucky. After the proctor of the second explained the next part of the exams, everyone signed under a waiver that if someone would die, it is not Konoha's fault. After everyone signed the waiver, they all went with only their teams to a tent where they got one of the 2 scrolls needed to finish the stage. After Naruto got his Earth Scroll, he was instructed to go to one of the 44 gates. At the gate on Naruto's right was a team from Kumo and on the left was a team from IWA. "Just perfect," he commented. Soon the gates opened, showing that the second exam started, and the genin jumped inside the forest. As Naruto was jumping through the forest, he thought how he would proceed. The first option was that Naruto would rush the Kumo team, take their scroll and rush the tower in the middle of the forest where he would have finished the second part of the Chunin exams. The second option was that the blonde would do the same but with IWA team. Of course, if Naruto was unlucky, he would have fight more than one team to get the Heaven Scroll, but the young genin was sure that luck was on his side. In the end, Naruto decided to take the first option, so he changed his course and ran to where the Kumo team should be. After 10 minutes of searching, the blonde found 3 ninjas from Kumo standing on a small clearing, and after a few moments of listening, he knew that they were thinking about their strategy for the second stage of the exams. The blonde quickly formed a plan of action in his mind and then silently made his way towards a huge tree branch that was exactly above the team. The Namikaze molded chakra in his feet to stand upside down the branch, and after a few seconds, he leaped with all his strength from the branch. The Kumo ninjas didn't know what hit them. One moment they were talking about the strategy, and the second a blonde kid landed on the only female of the team with such speed that the hit made her head hit the ground with such power that she had been instantly knocked out. But before any of her teammates could react, Naruto made several hand seals, too fast for any of the 2 to see them. Suetun, Water Ball Jutsu. The blonde genin spat out a large and dense orb of water that hit one of the 2 genin in the gut, making him gasp and fly away. The genin who was hit stopped when his back hit a tree behind him with such strength that it made the trunk to explode. The pain from getting hit with the jutsu combined with hitting the large tree with his back made the genin spat out a glob of blood and lose his consciousness. By the time his teammate was knocked out, the third genin took out a ninjato and rushed Naruto, who blocked the first overhead swing with 2 of his kunai. The Kumo genin tried to slash Naruto with a horizontal slash, but the blonde boy ducked under it and tried to sweep the Kumo nin from his feet. Unfortunately for Naruto, the other boy saw this and jumped over the sweep, but while he was still midair, Naruto showed off his agility and made a handstand while kicking his opponent under the chin. The Konoha ninja quickly followed by making a somersault to gain distance, and went through a set of hand seals while the Kumo nin was still falling, stunned by the hit and unable to do anything. Raitun, Lighting Shock Jutsu. The last Namikaze pushed his palms forward and two blue currents of lighting shot from them, electrocuting the Kumo genin, who fell down on the ground unconscious. The young blonde then followed by quickly searching the three ninja for the scroll he needed, and after finding it on the girl on who he fell first, Naruto grinned as he pocketed a heaven scroll. Alright, now quickly to the tower, and I've got the second stage complete, he said to himself and started to jump from branch to branch as fast as he could. Maybe if I am lucky, I will beat Itachi's record, he added with a smirk and speeded up. 5 days later, during Naruto's wait in the tower, the blonde was able to learn that if there will be too many genin left, they will make a preliminary on the day the second stage of the exams end. So today when Naruto woke up, he stretched and warmed up, just in time when a Chunin came to the room he was waiting in and told him that the preliminaries will now take place. When the blonde genin entered the arena in the tower, he was surprised to see the Hokage with at least 10 jonin standing in front of all the teams were able to pass the second stage. When everyone was there, the Sandaime started his speech about how they have to do the preliminaries because of all the nobles and other important people who will come to watch the final stage of the exams. The part that interested Naruto the most was when Hiruzen mentioned both Kazekage and Temari. Of course, daimyos and nobles are the only important people coming to Konoha. The Yondaime Reikage, the Sandaime Tsuchikage, and the Yondaime Kazekage with his daughter will come to Konoha to watch the final stage, Hiruzen said with a small smile when he saw Naruto's eyes widen while a grin crept on the blonde's face. After the proctor told everyone the rules and a few people dropped out, because they were too tired or injured, he told all of them to go to the spectator balcony, where the different Jonin sensei of the teams who passed were waiting. The blonde genin was surprised to see that both Itachi and Shisui were waiting there alongside the other Jonin sensei. Yo Naruto, I heard that you broke Itachi's record, Shisui said, making Itachi's right eyebrow to twitch as he heard once again that his blonde friend broke his old record. The said blonde grinned and rubbed back of his head with an embarrassment blush while he chuckled slightly. Of course I did, I am awesome. After all, the Namikaze said cheekily, and before they could continue their little chat, the proctor called the first match. But after looking at who was fighting, Naruto shifted his attention back to his friends. So, what were you two doing while I was away? The soon-to-be Chunin asked as he leaned on one of the walls. I have been training on my taijutsu and spending some more time with Sasuke, the Uchiha heir answered, surprising Naruto, who smiled after. Right, Sasuke, he is too now, right? The blonde asked, getting a nod of confirmation from his friend. What about you, Shisui? The youngest member of the team asked, making the older Uchiha grin, somehow worrying the blonde. I have spent the whole week getting girls to know, Shisui said proudly, making Naruto's sweat drop. What? Shisui asked after seeing his two younger friends' faces, getting a sigh from Itachi and a shake of the head from Naruto. I can't be the only one who hasn't a girlfriend on our team, I am the oldest of us after all, he commented with a smirk when he saw Naruto and Itachi to twitch. Temari is not my girlfriend. Izumi is not my girlfriend. The two shouted in unison, causing Itachi to smirk even wider when everyone, and I mean everyone, even the ones who were fighting, to turn to the two boys who were blushing furiously. Of course, everyone went back to their business as soon as they turned to the team Shisui. Naruto sighed and leaned back on the wall. I hate you, Naruto said and watched as one of the fighters was carried away to the infirmary. The blonde turned back to his black-haired friend when he heard him chuckle. What are you laughing at? The blonde asked, looking irritated at Shisui, as he heard the proctor call the next two fighters in the arena somewhere in the background. Come on, Naruto, you should be happy your little girlfriend is coming back to Konoha in about 3 weeks. A week before the third stage and will stay for until the exams are over, Shisui said, making Naruto scowl at the older Uchiha for again saying that Temari was his girlfriend and turn around. Of course, at the moment the blonde turned around, a smile spread across his face when he thought about Temari coming back. Will Namikaze Naruto and Yagami Kumiko come down here? The proctor said. The blonde genin didn't waste time and instantly jumped over the railing and waited for his opponent who took the stairs to come down. Once Kumiko entered the arena, Naruto quickly looked over him. Kumiko was a genin from Konoha. The older boy looked around 12 or 13, had short brown hair and dull green eyes. He was wearing a black shirt and blue pants. As Naruto finished his analyze, he came to the conclusion that Kumiko was another ninja who didn't have anything special and would probably only reach Chunin. But instead of working on the field, he will be someone like a librarian or academy teacher. Of course, even if Kumiko didn't look special, Naruto would take this seriously. Like every fight, because in the ninja world, the appearance could be very deceiving. As soon as the proctor began the match, Kumiko jumped back to gain some distance between the two genin. While Kumiko was in the air, he threw a dozen of kunai at Naruto, who took out 6 kunai and threw it so that the 6th deflected the dozen of throwing knives. As soon as Kumiko touched the ground, he sped through a sequence of hand seals. Katan, Great Fireball Jutsu. He exhaled a huge orb of fire at Naruto, but the blonde has seen bigger fireballs. Let's not forget that the fireball was slow enough for Naruto to go through hand seals at a more relaxed pace until he finished his 16 hand seals, which ended with the bird sign, Suetun, Water Dragon Jutsu. Suddenly an orb of water surrounded Naruto and then reformed into a dragon made of water, which glared at Kumiko with the intimidating yellow eyes. The two jutsu clashed in the middle of the arena, but Naruto's jutsu easily overpowered the one from the older ninja, who had to jump away to avoid getting hit by the jutsu. When the older genin landed, he threw a shuriken at Naruto and made several hand seals. Ninpo, Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. The single throwing star multiplied into 40 and all flew at Naruto, who made 2 hand seals and crouched as water started to surround him again. Suetun, Water Wall Jutsu. The shuriken tried to penetrate the water defense, but not even a single one was able to get close to Naruto, thanks to the jutsu which stopped all shuriken in their tracks. The blonde genin saw that Kumiko was already panting, so he decided to finish the fight. Making on hand seal, the boy used Shunshin to disappear and appeared 2 meters from his opponent. The older genin had no time to be surprised as Naruto launched a barrage of punches and kicks which made Kumiko work overtime to block or dodge every one of them. After getting another kick blocked, Naruto smirked and started to launch his attacks a bit faster and faster and faster until they were nothing more than blurs to the other genin. After Naruto increased the speed of his attacks the second time, Kumiko wasn't able to block so many of them, which resulted in him getting hit and lose his focus on tracking the blonde's attacks, which resulted into getting hit even more until he wasn't even able to lift his hand before he was hit. Thinking that enough was enough, Naruto ended the fight with a raising kick to Kumiko's chin, which knocked the bot back. During the onslaught of Naruto's attacks after the blonde increased his speed third time, the brown-haired boy was almost unconscious. The only thing which kept him from being knocked out was the will to fight, but even with his will, he faltered when Naruto delivered the rising kick to his chin, which finally did the inevitable. As soon as Kumiko hit the cold ground as a squad of medics, who were waiting since Naruto started to speed things up, came and took the older genin to the infirmary while the proctor called Naruto the winner. When the blonde entered the balcony, he was congratulated by his 2 teammates, of course after Shursui teased Naruto about why he took the whole 3 minutes. The trio didn't put too much attention to the next matches, instead, they talked about some regular things, so when the Hokage's voice told everyone to come down to get their number for the final stage bracket, Naruto was quite surprised that the preliminaries were already finished. After the blonde got down with everyone who passed the preliminaries, a jonin let them took pieces of papers which had numbers on them. Alright, so the matches for the final stage of the Chunin exams are following, he said, and everyone turned to the small board that the jonin was standing next to. 1. Match, Subiru of Konoha vs Nariko of IWA. 2. Match, Nanami of Suna vs Naruto of Konoha. 3. Match, Ko of Konoha vs Hiroshi of Suna. 4. Match, Rikudo of Kumo vs Ichiro of Suna. You will have 1 month to prepare for the final stage, which will be taken Great Leaf Arena. If there are no questions, you are all dismissed, Hiruzen said and turned to walk away. When the Sandaime Hokage told everyone about where the 3rd stage of the exams will take place, Naruto and his team rushed through the forest towards the village. There was no particular reason why they were in such rush. Maybe it was because they didn't want to meet any of the animals which lived in the forest. As soon as they left the forest, they relaxed, seeing how they were in no danger anymore. Turning to his youngest teammate, Shursui asked, "So, Naruto, any plans for the month?" Itachi was also curious what the blonde genin would do. He himself remembers how he trained non-stop during the month break with his father and Shursui. Well, Erosenin said that he will allow me to sign the Toad contract, so I will be training summoning and fighting with the Toads for the first week. For the rest of the month, I will be completing my jutsu with Erosenin's help. And between training and resting, I will most likely meet with Temari-chan, Naruto said with a grin, getting a few snickers at how he addressed one of the legendary Sannin. So, what about a training session tonight evening? Itachi asked as they walked into the more populated streets of Konoha. Naruto nodded with a grin at the notion of training, but Shursui shook his head, confusing the 2 younger ninja. Why can't you come, Shursui? The Uchiha asked. I can't train today evening since I have a date in at 6 p.m., and knowing that after every training session I am sore for the next few hours, I can't go, Shursui said with a cheeky grin, making Naruto raise an eyebrow while Itachi shook his head in disbelief. What? The older Uchiha asked. Isn't it like a 4th date this week? Itachi asked, making Naruto burst out in a laugh. The oldest member of Team Shursui muttered something about disrespectful brats, making the blonde genin laugh even harder, and even Itachi chuckled lightly. After they calmed down, they walked through the village streets, and after a few minutes, they ended at Ichiraku's ramen, where they decided to eat something. The trio ate their meals in comfortable silence until they heard 2 voices coming towards them. They recognized both of them. Kakashi, my eternal rival. I am sure that young Naruto-kun will like my gift more, and thanks to it he will be able to fan his flames of youth even brighter. The trio heard Guy's eccentric voice shout, which was followed by Kakashi's sigh. Have you said something, Guy? The silver-haired jonin asked, making the Team Shursui laugh when they heard the green spandex-wearing ninja shout something along the lines of Kakashi's attitude being too hip. The 2 ninjas soon entered the ramen stand and Kakashi gave them an eye smile. Yo! He greeted with a wave. Of course, Guy's greeting was more youthful. Yash! Young burning leaves of Konoha, I am the beautiful green beast of Konoha, Might Guy, but you 2 can refer to me as the fan that will make yours fire of youth burn brighter. I am glad to finally meet the 2 teammates of youthful Naruto-kun, the black-haired Chunin shouted while pumping his fist into the air. The 2 Uchiha's sweat dropped, and Itachi was sure that he saw literally fire shining in Guy's eyes. Yes, Naruto coughed in his hand. These are Uchiha Itachi and Shursui, he introduced his two teammates, who nodded to the Tajonin. So, what are you two doing here? The blonde asked as he leaned on the table. Kakashi gave him an eye smile and took a small box from somewhere. He gave it to Naruto, who looked at the Anbu, who raised an eyebrow. Well, I decided to give you a small gift for breaking Itachi-san's record at the second stage of the Chunin exams. Besides, I don't think that I am the only one who has a gift for you, and I don't mean Guy, the Anbu said, making Naruto smile and open the small box. Once he looked inside, his eyes widened as he took out a black face mask, just like Kakashi's. Congratulations, Kakashi said. Thanks, Kakashi-ni, Naruto said as he placed the mask on his face. It was a perfect fit. Of course there is one more gift, but only if you will become a Chunin, the silver-haired ninja said, making Naruto go through a list of things that he could get as a present in his mind. Young Naruto-kun, I also have a gift for you. Guy shouted and took out another package. Naruto turned to the Chunin and raised an eyebrow. You said something, Guy? The blonde asked, causing both Guy and Kakashi to freeze. Guy was the first to react as he fell to his knees and started to cry and shout about Kakashi corrupting Naruto with the mask and the blonde being too hip for his age. Meanwhile, Kakashi grinned under his mask and cheered with evil glee. Ha ha! He laughed maniacally. I have done it. I have a clone of myself, Kakashi stated. The three younger shinobi watching this sweat dropped. A few minutes later, the two older ninja calmed down, and now it was Guy's turn to give a gift to the blonde, now masked genin. When the last Namikaze opened the box, he raised an eyebrow. A scroll? The blonde commented and unrolled it. As soon as he saw the title of the technique written in it, his eyes widened to unnatural proportions. Guy, I can't take this, the genin said and tried to give the scroll to the Chunin, who gave Naruto thumbs up and spoke, his voice full of conviction. Naruto-kun, if there is a single person I know that will not abuse this technique, I am sure it will be you. So I decided to entrust you with this. But bear in mind that it is a double-edged sword, so use it only when protecting something precious to you, Guy said and gave Naruto a grin and disappeared in Shunshin. Naruto's two teammates turned to the blonde and asked in unison. Meanwhile, Kakashi looked also curious. What is this technique? The blonde looked at them for a moment, and started to close the scroll. Once he did this, he placed it back in the small box and sealed it in a sealing scroll. The 8 inner gates, Namikaze's house. Sometime later, we find Naruto sitting in his house, or more exactly, he was sitting in his living room, watching TV and waiting for his godfather to come. The white-haired Sannin had told Naruto in his last letter that he would be coming today, but there was no sight of the toad sage. The waiting blonde groaned and lied on his sofa. Where is this old pervert? He shouted in his mind. After another boring 10 minutes, the blonde decided to do something. As he stood up, he considered what he would do. The first thing that came to his mind was to go train, but he reasoned that if he would go train now, he would be too tired later when his godfather came. Am I really this boring? He asked himself as he couldn't find another thing than training to do to spend time waiting for the Sannin. After a few more moments of thinking, the blonde genin decided to think what others would do. Humoba-san would drink sake or gamble, too young. Shursui would go out to meet someone, have to wait. Itachi would spend time with Sasuke, have no siblings. Ero-sennin would go peek at girls to write those books of his, pervert the blonde listed in his mind. That's it. He grinned and went to his study. I can write a book, it gotta be easy, he reassured himself. When he entered the room, he took a seat at the large oak desk, opened a drawer in which he held paper, and he opened a second drawer where he held his brushes and everything else to write. Let's see, the blonde started to write and didn't even know when the whole day passed as he spends the whole afternoon at his desk. Later in the night, long after midnight, when Jiraiya entered the study, he couldn't help but chuckle when he saw his godson sleeping with his face on a few sheets of papers under him and a brush in his hand. Next day, today morning after Naruto woke up, he was surprised that Jiraiya was at home, but he shrugged it off and went to make himself some breakfast. After this, the two headed to the backyard where the Sannin took out a package and gave it to the surprised Naruto. Come on, open it, you are gonna like it, the white-haired ninja said as he waited for Naruto's reaction. The blonde didn't wait too long as he opened the package and his eyes widened when he saw what was inside. Inside the package was a short-sleeved haori, exactly like his father's. The only thing that different was the color. Minato's haori was white with red flames at the bottom, where Naruto's haori was dark red with black flames at the bottom and the Namikaze crest displayed on the back. The blonde genin quickly put on the new haori and made a few experimental katas to see how it feels to fight in the haori. A few moments later, the blonde turned back to Jiraiya and flashed him a huge grin. Thanks, Ero-sennin, but let's train. I waited for the whole day yesterday, Naruto shouted in frustration, making Jiraiya face fault and grumble something about disrespectful brats. Nevertheless, the legendary pervert took out the scroll on his back and unrolled it on the ground, in front of Naruto. The larger man pointed at one of the free squares. Sign here with your blood, he said, making Naruto cut his finger and write his name, Namikaze Naruto, right next to his father. Alright, here are the seals, the toad hermit said and made 5 hand seals at a quick pace, fast enough to make most Chunin unable to see them. Of course, Naruto went through the same hand seals at the same speed only a second after Jiraiya finished. The last Namikaze had gone through the sequence a few more times to make sure he remembered the hand seals and then nodded to his godfather. The larger man then proceeded to explain that to summon he had to push a large amount of chakra into his palms after using some of his own blood, and then place them at the ground. After hearing the Toad Sage explain how the summoning works and how to do it, the blonde smeared some blood on his palm and made the hand seals needed for the jutsu. He then pushed a lot chakra into his right palm and placed it on the ground. Summoning jutsu, he stated, and in a puff of smoke, a little orange toad appeared. The amphibian looked around until he spotted the twitching Naruto and surprised Jiraiya and then waved at them with a smile. Yo, do you have some sweats? He asked, making the blonde sigh and then point towards his house. Yeah, go search in the kitchen. By the way, my name is Naruto, new toad summoner. Naruto introduced himself with a friendly smile, making the toad to grin. My name is Gamakichi, son of Gamabunta and brother of Gamatatsu, the orange toad said and then started to jump towards Naruto's kitchen. After the toad was away, the blonde turned to his godfather and shrugged. Let's continue. Chunin Exams Arena. The blonde genin was standing in the middle of the arena with another 6 genin. As Naruto looked around, he couldn't help but be a bit nervous. It was not the crowd of hundreds if not thousand people who made him nervous, no, it were the 4 powerful leaders who were looking on the 8 genin from the seats in the Kage booth that made Naruto sweat. After all, it is not every day that you stand in front of the Hokage, Kazekage, Tsuchikage, and Reikage and have to fight to demonstrate your village power. Not to mention that somewhere in the crown were his godparents, Temari-chan, his 2 teammates, and Kakashi with his friends. It would be embarrassing to lose in front of them all, especially after all the training he had done and all the praise he got for being a prodigy. Well, there was no backing down now, especially when the Sandaime Hokage stood up and started his welcoming speech, during which the blonde genin thought about what he did when Temari came. The two spend the whole week together, either playing or making some light training since Temari started her ninja training when she came back to Suna. The 2 kids also spent some time thinking about ideas for Naruto's book. The first fight between Subaru of Konoha and Noriko of IWA will start in a moment. Everyone else please go to the waiting area, the proctor said, and the Zai's genin went to the balcony which was under the Kage booth. Soon the fight started and Naruto, who was leaning on the wall, watched to gain as much information as he could. The fight was brief. Subaru was a kenjutsu fighter with a few genjutsu, but Noriko used a jutsu that created a chakra-enhanced stone armor around her body, making the Konoha genin unable to penetrate it. The Iwanin finished the match with a powerful kick to Subaru's torso, showing that either the armor had given her a power boost or that she had so much natural strength. Soon the second match was called, making the blonde a bit more stressed than before, but nevertheless, he appeared at the middle of the arena, making the whole arena to erupt into cheers. He heard a group of teenage girls call him a cutie, and when he looked over to Temari, he saw her twitch and being held down by Baki, her escort. Of course, he also saw a few girls his age look at him with blushes. It was no surprise when the boy was wearing a black face mask with a black long-sleeved muscle shirt and black shinobi pants. Over this, he was wearing his new haori and on his hands were black ninja gloves with a metal plate on them. His hitite was safely tied around his forehead. As Naruto watched his opponent come to the arena, he saw that she wore a simple black battle kimono. The girl had short brown hair and black eyes. Over her right shoulder peeked a ninjato. Nanami of Suna versus Naruto of Konoha. Begin. The proctor jumped away after beginning the fight. The blonde genin jumped a bit back and made several hand seals while he was still midair. Right on pale lighting, a white and thin stream of lighting shot from Naruto's fingertips and flew at his opponent, who moved her head just in time for the jutsu to cut her hair. She looked with wide eyes at Naruto, and then they narrowed. She unsheathed her ninjato and rushed at her opponent. Seeing his opponent coming to him, the blonde smirked and made a single hand seal. Suetun, water gun jutsu. Naruto made a pistol from his right hand and shot a small, but fast and powerful ball of water at his opponent, who used her blade to deflect the attack. After feeling the attack stop, she looked at her blade and her eyes widened when she saw that it had a dent in it. There was only one thought in her mind. Good thing I used my chakra to reinforce my ninjato, she told herself, and rushed at the blonde again. This time, the last Namikaze took out 2 kunai and waited for her. When Nanami was close, she tried to stab the blonde, but he parried her attack with one of his kunai and countered with a slash at her face with the other kunai. The Sunanin was able to tilt her head back to avoid getting cut. She made a pirouette and launched an overhead slash at the blonde, who sidestepped the attack. Nanami followed by trying to sweep Naruto's feet from under him, but he somersaulted backward, and while he was in the air, he threw 2 of his kunai at her. The girl was surprised by the attack and too close to her opponent to be able to block both of them. She decided to block the one which was flying at her face while getting hit with the second, which impaled her right thigh, making the Suna Kunoichi to hiss in pain. Without a second thought, she ripped the kunai out and threw it back at Naruto, who caught it and smirked at his opponent, making her growl in irritation. The blonde rushed at his opponent and launched a right hook which the kunoichi blocked and tried to counter with a horizontal slash, but Naruto used his palm to hit her wrist, stopping the blade and making her drop the blade. She tried to duck and take the sword back, but she had to roll back when Naruto tried to kneel her in the face. The blonde placed his foot under the blade and threw it behind him, making the kunoichi tsk in annoyance. Nanami rushed at the blonde and launched a spinning kick, but Naruto caught her ankle and threw her over his shoulder, surprising the girl. She corrected herself in the air and landed in a crouch, but had to roll to the side to avoid Naruto's axe kick. She launched a rising kick to Naruto's chin, which sends him flying into the air, but to everyone's surprise, he made a pirouette in the air and threw a kunai at her face. The brown-haired girl had enough time to move to the side but still got a small slice on her cheek. She made several hand seals and inhaled air. Futon, air bullets jutsu. She exhaled a dozen of small, but deadly orbs of wind at Naruto, who brought his hand in front of him to cover his face and vitals. The blonde got hit a few times and when he landed, he saw that he was bleeding slightly from the small wounds. He looked over to his smirking opponent, and made a single hand seal and then rushed once more at her. Nanami tensed as she saw the blonde shinobi come at her. He appeared in front of her and launched a right jab at her face, and she moved to block the attack. But at the last moment, he suddenly disappeared and appeared behind her, shocking the crowd. He launched an uppercut to her tailbone, making her gasp in pain as she felt him hit her. The attack made her unable to defend against his next attack, which was a back kick to her back, which made her stumble forward. But before she could do something, Naruto appeared in front of her with a rising kick to her chin which sends her into the air. The blonde finished his combo by appearing above her and executing an axe kick to her gut, making her gasp for air and hit the ground, painfully. Winner, Naruto of Konoha. The proctor shouted and the whole crowd erupted into cheers, everyone cheering for the blonde who grinned and bowed to the four Kages and went back to the balcony. Kage booth. So that is the son of the Yellow Flash? Interesting. The sandamed Tsuchikage, Anoki, mused while appraising the blonde who was walking back to the balcony. They heard a grunt and turned to the Yandame Reikage AI. This kid is fast for his age, even if he was holding back with those seals that Minato created, the Reikage stated, making Hiruzen smile slightly. It wasn't known fact, but both AI and Minato became good friends and rivals after the war, so it was obvious that the black-skinned man would be interested in his friend's child's development. Which seals do you mean, Reikage Dano? Raza asked the bulky man. AI smirked and turned back to the arena. Gravity seals, Minato created them to train speed and reaction time of the user. When the user places a gravity seal on them, the whole body is pushed down by the gravity, making it harder to walk and fight. There are 10 levels of the seal, and if I remember right, Minato was on the 9th when we last met, 2 weeks before the QB attack, AI informed. Before any more questions could be asked, the next match started. With Naruto, the blonde genin watched the fight between a Hyuga clan main branch member and a puppeteer from Suna. The fight lasted longer than the first but was shorter than the second. Ko, the Hyuga, found out that Hiroshi was hiding in the trees and that the Hyuga was fighting a puppet. Soon the fight changed into a game of catch. Ko was running after his real opponent, while being chased by the puppet who had no long-range weapons, so it had to get close. After about 2 minutes, Ko was able to substitute with a branch next to the puppeteer and then used Jukin to win the fight. The fourth fight occurred soon. This battle was between a dark-skinned Kumonin, Rikudo who was a ninjutsu specialist versus a red-haired Sunanin, Ichiro who also was a ninjutsu specialist. The two shot a jutsu after jutsu at each other, trying to overpower the opponent. If Naruto had to describe the fight, it would be flashy. Of course, it would be an amazing battle for a civilian who came to watch ninjas to exhale fire and shot lightning from their hands, but for a ninja, it was simply boring. Why? Because none of the used jutsu was close to hitting their opponent. None of the two fighters got a single hit on the other, and the fight ended with both of them falling unconscious because of chakra exhaustion. The fight ended in a draw and it was Naruto's time to fight the kunoichi from IWA. The two stood in front of each other, waiting for the proctor to start the match. As Naruto observed his opponent, he saw her finger twitch slightly, indicating that at the moment the match starts, she will start doing hand seals and is preparing herself. Of course, if anyone other than Naruto would fight her, they would attack her to stop her from doing her jutsu, but Naruto had others plans. Begin! The proctor started the match and true to Naruto's observation, Nariko jumped back and made several hand seals. Doton, stone armor jutsu! She shouted, and as soon as she touched the ground, the stones from the ground shrouded around her, creating an armor, which protected everything besides her face. She looked to where her opponent was and was slightly surprised to see Naruto waiting for her with his hand crossed. Aren't you gonna do anything? She asked a bit irritated. Naruto narrowed his eyes and unfolded his hands and started walking towards her. How hard is it to destroy this armor? He asked and suddenly stopped in his tracks. The girl scoffed and took a fighting stance. You will have to find out yourself, of course, if you can, she said arrogantly, making the blonde smirk. I intend to, he said, and suddenly his expression turned into fully serious. Don't blink, or you're gonna miss it, he stated, making her wary. Up in the Kage booth, both Reikage and Tsuchikage gasped as they heard the blonde say this. Hiruzen turned to them and asked what happened. It was the same phrase his father said before using the Hiraishin against the legion of IWA Nins, Tsuchikage said bitterly. Everyone turned to see what the last Namikaze would do. Come, aren't you gonna do anything? She asked and was about to rush Naruto, but then everyone in the arena felt the large output of chakra. Suddenly Naruto disappeared and appeared again in front of Nariko with a Rasengan in his right palm. Before the girl could move, the Konoha Genin shoved his jutsu into her torso, reaping her armor and sending her into one of the station walls. The proctor ran to her to check her pulse and sigh when she was only unconscious. Before he could announce the blonde the winner, they all heard the blonde to groan. Damn, using a substitution at this speed without any hand seals and with a kunai surely puts a strain on chakra coils, he said and turned back to where he was standing. Everyone in the audience looked to the same place and indeed, they saw a kunai there. Man, I am lucky that I left it there in the last fight, he said with a laugh. Practically everyone could hear the IWA and Kumo ninja sign in relief after hearing that it wasn't the dreaded jutsu of the Yondaime Hokage. Winner, Naruto of Konoha, the proctor said. They made 5 minutes of pause between the last match, and after the break was the fight that everyone was waiting for. Namikaze Naruto vs Hyuga. Begin. For a few tense moments, there was an absolute silence until both of the fighters rushed at each other and met in the middle of the arena. The two engaged in a heated taijutsu fight which for a civilian was nothing more than two blurs, but an experienced shinobi saw that the two launched punches and kicks after blocks and dodges. Naruto blocked a palm strike to his shoulder and launched a roundhouse kick, which KO blocked with a raised knee. The Hyuga then countered with a double palm strike to Naruto's shoulder by the boy dropped low and tried a sweep kick. The Hyuga jumped over it and launched and side kicked to Naruto who blocked with both hands. The Namikaze feinted a right hook, but at the moment he was about to hit, he placed his hand on the ground and made a raising kick to KO's unguarded chin. A second before the attack could hit, Ko started to spin and expel chakra from his tenketsu. A dome of chakra surrounded him and shot Naruto back. Hakusho Kaiten. The blonde genin righted himself in the air and landed in a crouch. Soon the dome vanished, showing a smirking Ko. Give up, this is the Hyuga clan's ultimate defense, there is no way to get through it, the Hyuga boasted, making the blonde to scoff. So you are so sure that no attack can penetrate Kaiten? The blonde asked and after a nod, he continued with a smirk. Then let's make a wager, let me use one jutsu to try to get through your defense and I fail, I will forfeit, what do you say? The blonde asked and laughed inwardly when he saw the Hyuga to nod with an arrogant smirk. Bring it, he pale-eyed ninja said and prepared himself. Naruto looked over to the Kage booth and grinned. He then proceeds to flex his right shoulder and breathed out. Naruto went through 4 hand seals at a slow pace and when he finished with the monkey seal, he caught his right wrist with his left hand and started to push chakra into the palm. A second later, everyone in the arena could see crimson lighting form in Naruto's hand. The lighting started to dance around his hand, but everyone could see that Naruto had full control over it. If the color would be blue, many would think that it was the Raikiri. Suzaku, the blonde said and rushed at the Hyuga who started to spin. Kaiten, Shuriken. The two jutsu clashed for domination for a few seconds until Naruto's crimson blade easily cut through the chakra and impaled the Hyuga deep into his right shoulder. The Hyuga cried out in pain, but before he could do anything, Naruto hit him in the back of the neck and ripped his arm from the Hyuga's shoulder. Winner, Namikaze Naruto! Winner, Namikaze Naruto! The crowd erupted into cheers as everyone in the stadium started to applaud for the blonde who grinned and waved to the audience. Naruto turned then to the 4 leaders and gave a respectful bow to them before exiting the arena. As soon as he entered the locker room, he was greeted with Shursui, Itachi, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Temari. Up in the Kage booth, the 4 leaders were talking with one another about the blonde genin. Crimson blade, huh? The Tsuchikage mused as he watched the blonde bow and leave the arena. Seeing Inoki so inspired by the technique, Hiruzen couldn't help but smirk slightly. Exactly, it took only 3 weeks for young Naruto to create this jutsu, the old monkey summoner said. Of course, he knew that it was the time that Naruto needed with shadow clones. But the Sandaime Tsuchikage didn't need to know this, right? The Jinten user looked wide-eyes at the back of the retreating blonde as he thought to himself. Interesting, every time I hear about the boy, he is even more interesting, the old man said himself as a cruel smirk found way on his face. Of course, no other Kage saw the smirk. HN, how strong is the jutsu, Hokage Dano? A asked with a grin as he for a moment saw Minato instead of Naruto. The Yondaime Reikage couldn't help but grin as he saw the blonde. He was so similar to Minato that it was scary. Besides he was strong, very strong for his age. He dares say that stronger than Minato was at his age. If the young Namikaze would be gaining strength as he does now, then in a few years he would be a worthy rival for A. The thought of having another rivalry like the one with Minato made the Reikage grin with glee. Naruto-kun and Kakashi-kun stated that it was stronger than Chidori, which is an A-rank jutsu, but it is not an S-rank technique yet. They both told me that it was a high A-rank jutsu and Naruto has already a few theories about how to improve this technique to an S-rank level, the old monkey said proudly. Raza, who until now was quietly, hummed softly. The boy got strong, very strong. An interesting boy he is, a true prodigy, the red-haired Kage muttered as various plans created in his mind. Temari and he are relatively close, maybe I will be able to schedule a training trip for the two of them. It would benefit not only Temari but also the alliance. Showing that we trust each other enough to send our ninja to train together, the Yondaime Kazekage mused in his mind. Locker room. Good job, Naruto. The blonde heard his godfather voice as the white-haired sage hit the boy on the back, causing the blonde to stumble forward. The Toad Sage laughed seeing the young Namikaze glare at him. Naruto! So that was what you hid from us. That jutsu was badass. The older Uchiha from his team stated with a grin while congratulating his teammate. Congratulations, Naruto-kun, Temari said and gave the blonde a hug, making the said blonde to blush and stutter his thanks. Unbeknown to the two, Jiraiya and Tsunade threw each other a glance. Alright, I think that a celebration is in order, don't you think? Tsunade asked rhetorically, and a few minutes later the group of 7 left the arena, going towards the Ichiraku Ramen to celebrate Naruto's victory at the tournament. Somewhere on the road, they also met up with Kakashi, Guy, Asuma, and Kurenai. The group spent some time at the ramen bar, eating, talking and relaxing, but of course, all that is good must come to an end. So the evening came and everyone had to go back to their usual lives. Kakashi went back to his home to read his books, Jiraiya went to peek at hot springs, Tsunade went for her night shift at the hospital, Guy ran out shouting something about power of youth. Asuma and Kurenai went to a bar to meet their other friends, while Itachi and Shursui went back to the Uchiha compound to train some. Naruto would normally go with them, but he saw that Temari would be left alone, so he decided to spend time with her since he didn't know when she would go back home to Suna. So when the two of them were alone, the blonde genin invited Temari over to him. The two spend the whole evening either watching TV or playing together while eating various snacks that Naruto had at home. After what seemed like hours of playing together, the two decided to watch one last move before going to sleep, but because of the comfortable sofa they were sitting on, or maybe because the comfortable position the two were, with the two cuddlings together, the two blondes fell asleep. This was also the position in Anbu, who was supposed to fetch them, found the two in. Of course, the Anbu would be someone who would know Naruto or Temari. As Kakashi watched the two blondes cuddle, he couldn't help but let out a quiet perverted giggle and take a quick picture. A great blackmail material, you're the guy, Kakashi, he thought and giggled once more before waking the two kids. The silver-haired Anbu shook the two kids by their shoulders, waking the two. Wakey, kids, Kakashi said, but his hand was slapped back by Temari who hugged Naruto like a teddy bear. After seeing the two in this position, the teenage Anbu couldn't help but take another photo. Oh yes, you sure are the guy, Kakashi, the Sharingan user mused in his head before sighing. I hate to wake you up, but Hokage-sama and Kazekage-sama have requested the two, he said and made 3 hand seals. So wake up. Suetun, wake the hell up jutsu, Kakashi spat out a stream of cold, very cold water at the two kids, waking them and making them shriek. Kakashi ni you bastard. The young genin shouted as he jumped up and stuck to the ceiling to avoid the stream of water. Ga! I am awake now. Temari cried out and jumped behind the sofa to find cover from the cold water. Now that finally both of you are awake, Hokage-sama and Kazekage-sama have requested the two of you in the Hokage office in 30 minutes, the silver-haired jonin said and used Shunshin when a barrage of shuriken flew at him from the ceiling. After seeing that his older brother figure is away, the blonde genin jumped from the ceiling and landed next to Temari. Sorry, Temari-chan, I hate it when he does it. Let's get prepared, we need to be in Hokage-sama's office in 20 minutes, the blue-eyed boy said and was about to go upstairs to get some clothes when Temari stopped him. The blonde boy turned around and saw that his fellow blonde was blushing and looking down. Something wrong, Temari-chan? He asked. Well, I am a bit hungry, but I am bad at cooking, can you make breakfast? She asked, still looking down. Naruto looked at her strangely, and then shrugged and turned to the kitchen. Sure, Temari-chan, the breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes, the last Namikaze said and went to prepare some food. The teal-eyed girl looked at him for a moment, and then muttered something about everyone doing what she wanted with a grin. 30 minutes later, Hokage office. After the two ate breakfast, the two blondes went to the Hokage office where they were supposed to meet with Raza and Hiruzen. When the two kids entered the office, they saw both Kages sitting and drinking tea. When Hiruzen lifted his gaze to the door, he saw Naruto clad only in his black long-sleeved shirt and black pants and Temari wearing a teal-green kimono with a flower design on it. Ah, young Naruto, young Temari, how good that you two came, we have some things to discuss, Hiruzen said with a grandfatherly smile as the two blondes stood in front of him and Raza. First thing is that I want to congratulate you, Namikaze Naruto, on winning the Chunin exams tournament and being promoted to the rank of Chunin. Do you accept the promotion? The old monkey asked as Naruto bowed to him with a smile. Thank you, Hokage-sama, I accept, the fresh Chunin said and put his new Chunin vest over his black shirt. Naruto then looked at the Sarutobi when he saw the old man hand him a black-covered book. What is it, Hokage-sama? The boy asked as he took the book. That is the newest released bingo book, page 420, the old man said and took a sip of his tea. The blue-eyed boy opened the book and started to read while Temari looked over his shoulder. Bingo book entry 8639. Name, Namikaze Naruto. Nicknames, Naruto of the Crimson Blade. Village, Kanehigakure. Rank, Chunin. Gender, male. Age 6. Eye color, blue. Hair color, golden blonde. Appearance, usually wears black outfits with a red haori with black flames. Relatives, Namikaze Minato. Father, Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina. Mother, Jiraiya of the Sannin. Godfather, Senju Tsunade. Godmother. Abilities, ninjutsu. Showed significant skill in this art. Has huge chakra reserves for someone his age. Chunin level. Taijutsu, uses kunai with his taijutsu fights. faster than most Chunin and some Jonin. Jonin level. Genjutsu Unkon. Showed great chakra control. Fuinjutsu unknown. Stay cautious. Kenjutsu unknown. Known elements, right un, sway un. Threat C rank. Bounty, IWA, 1 foot 200 000 dead, 1 500 000 alive. Note, this little midget literally cut through a dome of pure, rotating chakra, and then cut right into a Hyuga's shoulder, knocked him out and then walk as nothing happened. Wow, Naruto said after reading his own entry in the book. I am worth over an S-ranked mission, he said and turned to the Sandaime Hokage. Ne Hokage-sama, how big is your bounty? Naruto asked, making the old man chuckle and lean back in his seat. My bounty is worth 150 foot 0000000 Rio, he said and started to laugh when he saw Naruto's and Temari's faces. As good as talking with you is, we have some more matters we have to talk about, he said, making Naruto adopt his ninja mask. Naruto, there is no easy way to tell you this, but there will be no more Team Shusui, Hiruzen said and watched as a few emotions flew through Naruto's face. Finally, he asked, why? The blonde questioned. Shusui will be joining ANBU next week and Itachi has to join the Uchiha police force like every Uchiha for at least a year. The old monkey summoner answered and watched as Naruto's eyes widened and then returned to their normal proportions. What about me, Hokage-sama? The last Namikaze asked his leader, making the man walk over to his desk and take out a scroll. Chunin Namikaze Naruto, I have a long-term S-ranked mission which only you will be able to fulfill. You will be given more information if you accept. Then do you accept the mission? The Sandaime Hokage said in his business voice, making sure that Naruto understood the importance of this mission. The blonde in question nodded his head without hesitation. I accept, Hokage-sama, Naruto said and watched as a grin formed on Hiruzen's face. Very well, you will be going on a 1-year training trip with Hatake Kakashi and Sabaka no Temari. Jiraiya will also drop from time to time. You will travel around Fire Country and train under Kakashi's tutelage and after a year you will come back, the old monkey said, making Naruto look at him with wide eyes and mouth agape. 3 figures could be seen standing in front of the great gate of Konoha. On closer inspection, one of them was a blonde boy wearing a haori who was reading a scroll, a blonde girl who was wearing a kimono and was reading a book, and the last was a teenager who was wearing regular Konoha Jonin outfit and was reading an orange book while giggling from time to time. Suddenly the gates opened, allowing the 3 to leave the village. The small group didn't seem in a hurry since they walked through the forest around Konoha at civilian pace. After about 2 hours of walking, the oldest person from the group stopped on clearing and sat under a tree. The 2 blondes looked at each other, and then at the silver-haired one. Kakashi ni, what are you doing? Asked the boy. Kakashi looked from his book and gave Naruto an eye smile. Well, this is Training Ground 86. It's the most away training ground from Konoha. We will be staying here for at least a month to train Temari-san in the basics since she just entered the academy, and she isn't an ultra-super prodigy child like you, Kakashi said and turned back to his book. Pack out your tents, we will begin to train in an hour, the teenager said. What about your tent, Kakashi-san? Temari asked, making Kakashi point to his left, his eye not leaving his small book. The 2 blondes looked over to where he was pointing and their eyes bulged in surprise when they saw a tent already prepared. When have you done this? She asked the young Jonin who gave them an eye smile. That's a secret, he said, making the 2 blondes grumble and go to prepare their own tents. 1 hour later, the 3 were standing in the middle of the clearing. Naruto, for now, I will be focusing on Temari so she can progress faster with the basics, okay? He asked and got a nod from his younger brother. Alright, then you are free to learn Fuinjutsu for now. I will show you a jutsu altar so you can practice, Kakashi said and the blonde Chunin nodded and went back to his tent. So, we will begin with Kakashi was cut off when both of them heard the sound of summoning. They both looked to where Naruto was and saw a room. They both watched as the door opened and Naruto came out with a satisfied grin on his face. The blonde Chunin saw the dumbfounded looks he was getting from his 2 companions and rubbed back of his neck. Sorry, Kakashi ni, Temari-chan, forgot to tell you that I took my study with me so I could learn Fuinjutsu more effectively, Naruto said with a chuckle. If you took a whole room, why didn't you bring the whole house with you? Temari asked, a bit irritated. We could be sleeping in your house and not in tents, she added. The Chunin looked at her puzzled. Who would bring a whole house with him for a training trip? It's stupid, Naruto answered his own question like it was something that everyone should know. His 2 training companions looked at his with sweat drops. Right, who would take the whole house with him for training trip? They thought at the same time. 1 week later. 1 week has passed since they began their training trip and Kakashi was pleasantly surprised. While Temari wasn't a super-ultra prodigy like Naruto, she was learning very fast. The blonde girl made big progress in only a week. She went from an untrained civilian girl to an at least second-year student at Konoha Ninja Academy. Currently, the blonde Suna girl was sitting on a chair that Naruto unsealed from one of his scrolls and was relaxing after her taijutsu training session with Kakashi. The silver-haired teenager was a slave driver when it came to her training because, as he said, he wanted to make them as strong as possible in this 1 year. The said Cyclops has gone fishing their dinner, leaving the 2 blondes alone. Temari really didn't know why Kakashi wanted to go fishing if he had a village not 10 minutes from their location. Maybe it had something to do with this orange book. Well, either way, she and Naruto were alone at their clearing, so she decided to learn more about Suna history, seeing how Naruto wouldn't be able to talk to her as he was working on his seals. That was the only thing that irritated Temari. Normally, she and Naruto would talk and play the whole time, but when he started to work on his seals, it was like he wasn't even with them. The Suna princess heard rustling of leaves and turned to where it came from, but she hasn't seen anything. She decided to ignore it and started to read her book again, at least until she heard someone land on the grass. She turned to where it comes from to see how much fish Kakashi had caught today, but her eyes widened when she saw that it wasn't their sensei. Before she stood a man who had short brown hair, black eyes, and his mouth was twisted into a permanent grin, which in Temari's opinion looked scary. He was wearing a long-sleeved red shirt, pants of the same color, and a brown flak jacket. She looked at his forehead and paled. There it was, the Awagakure Hittite. As soon as he felt the new chakra enter the clearing, Naruto appeared next to Temari with 2 kunai in his hand, ready to fight whoever it was. As he looked at the man, he tried to remember who the Iwa was. Suddenly it clicked and he remembers the man from the bingo book. Akira of Awagakure, B-rank special jonin who is known from his great teamwork with his 2 twin brothers. I can't sense them, have they left you alone? The blonde chunin asked, making the Iwa laugh. Naruto narrowed his eyes when he heard his opponent laugh at him. Oh my, I am famous even in the shitty village of yours. And to answer your question, no, they are probably killing your sensei by now. Akira taunted but was disappointed when he saw no reaction from Naruto and Temari. What do you want from us? Naruto asked, and when the special jonin started to talk, he whispered to Temari. Temari-chan, stand back, he commanded, and the other blonde nodded slightly. Well, Tsuchikage-sama thought that Akage's child being alone so far from her village is bad, so he tasked me and my brothers with delivering Kazekage's daughter to him, so he can escort her back to Suna. Akira lied and then narrowed his eyes. Alright brat, give me the girl or you are gonna do this the hard way, Akira threatened. The last Namikaze over his shoulder to Temari and nodded, making her nod back and start to run away. The Iwa growled and threw a single kunai at Temari's back, which was blocked by a shuriken which was thrown by Naruto. Your fight is with me, Naruto said and threw the other kunai at his opponent, making hand seals. Ninpu, Shadow Kunai Clone Jutsu. The single kunai multiplied into a dozen, all of them flying towards the brown-haired ninja who hastily made 2 hand seals and poofed away, revealing a log implied with kunai. Akira studied the blonde boy with narrowed eyes. What's with the kid? Blonde hair, blue eyes, black shirt, and pants, goddammit, how could I forget it? Akira shouted at himself in his mind and jumped out of the tree he was sitting on. He landed in front of Naruto and gained a maniacal gleam in his eyes. So you are this Namikaze brat everyone is talking about? Akira asked rhetorically and rushed at Naruto with the intent of a taijutsu fight. Let's see if you live up to your reputation. He shouted and launched a roundhouse kick at Naruto, under which the blonde ducked, but had to roll back to avoid the following axe kick. The blonde chunin quickly rolled back to his feet and blocked a right hook to his temple. As soon as he blocked, he tried to counter with an uppercut to Akira's gut, but the special jonin caught Naruto's wrist and kneed the blonde in the face, making Naruto stumble back a few steps before he had to move his head to the side to avoid a straight jab to his face. The jab was obviously a distraction because as soon as Naruto moved his head to the side, his face was met with the Iwa foot. The kick sends the blonde chunin 3 meters away. Naruto rolled for a few seconds and stopped as his back touched a tree. Damn it, think Naruto, what do you remember about him? The blonde asked himself, and slowly started to rise to his feet. Suddenly Naruto's eyes widened when he remembered a part of the note in the bingo book. Each of the brothers is powerful in one of the main ninja arts. Akira's strength is Genjutsu. Kai, Naruto said, making the ram's seal. Suddenly the world started to vanish until Naruto found himself staring at Akira, Temari still at his side. The blonde chunin was about to tell Temari to run away, but fell to his knees and started panting. Damn, the blonde cursed quietly and slowly raised to his feet again. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Temari asked, seeing her best friend suddenly drop to his knees. The blonde boy gave her a grin and stood up. Don't worry about me, Temari-chan. Go, I got this, the chunin reassured, making the Suna princess to nod uncertainly and then run away from the fight. The blonde narrowed his eyes at Akira, who was grinning smugly. So, you broke out of this genjutsu? Not bad at all, Akira stated and took out a kunai. But let me tell you, because my genjutsu is powerful doesn't mean that my Taiwa ninjutsu is weak. He shouted and threw the single kwani at Naruto, who jumped to the side. But as soon as his feet touched the ground, he heard Akira shout, Doton, Mud Dragon Jutsu. A brown dragon formed behind Akira and shot out towards Naruto, who made 4 hand seals at neck-breaking speed. Raiton, lighting arrow. The last Namikaze made a motion like he would be shooting out from a bow, and suddenly a yellow arrow materialized in his hand. The blonde let go of his attack and watched as the projectile flew at the dragon, and at the moment it was about to hit, the mud dragon vanished. Before the blonde could do as much as a scream in shock, he was hit from behind by the same mud dragon that vanished a moment ago. Naruto flew face first into a tree and coughed up blood as soon as he hit the trunk. The Chunin slid down the tree and weakly did the ram's seal again and disrupted the genjutsu, which showed that Akira wasn't standing 15 meters from Naruto, only 3, and had a large fist made of stone ready to attack the blonde. Making a single hand seal, the blonde sucked in the air and spat out a large bullet of water that hit the Iwanin into stomach and made him fly back. During the shock that Naruto was able to land a hit on him and the pain from the attack, Akira lost his concentration and the large fist crumbled away. Naruto slowly raised to his feet, again, started to make the lunges sequence of hand seals he knew. After 44 hand seals, Naruto crouched down, to better concentrate, and started to draw water from the air. Suetun, Water Dragon Jutsu. Large dragon with yellow eyes formed in front of Naruto and flew at Akira, who was just stood up and had no time to defend himself. The blonde Chunin watched in satisfaction as the dragon tore through Akira's body, making the Iwanin scream and howl in agony. As soon as the dragon hit the third tree, it dissolved. There is no way he survived, Naruto muttered to himself and was about to go to Temari when he heard her scream and saw a shadow rise above him. Before Naruto could react, an earth spike was stabbed through his chest, making the Namikaze gasp in pain. Naruto felt the metallic taste of blood in his mouth and knew that it meant that at least one of his vital points has been destroyed. Well, there is a way I survived. Suddenly Naruto's blood ran cold when he heard Akira's voice behind him. Mustering all his strength, he looked in the Iwanin's eyes and asked the only question on his mind. How? Naruto asked weakly as he felt the life force leave his body. He watched as Akira grinned and the earth spike started to crumble away, making Naruto hit the ground. Hard. Mud clone, Akira answered simply and started to walk towards Temari with a sickening grin on his face. Now that he is out of the way, let's have some fun before I will give you to the Tsuchikage, shall we, my little girl? Akira asked with an ill laugh as he neared the blonde girl. Naruto watched this all as he lay on the ground while a pole of his own started to create under him. Damn it, forgive me. Temari-chan. The blackness started to consume his vision even more as his heart started to slow down until everything went black and silent. It was dark and silent. Nothing could be heard or seen. The only thing he could feel was the cold surface he was lying on. He didn't know what it was and wasn't able to see what it was. Now that he thinks about it, he couldn't move. He knew that he was somewhere between being alive and dead, but how this happened? He did not know. He didn't know how long he was lying there, not that it mattered, because even if he could move, it was too dark and silent to give him any clue where he was. As he was lying there and theorizing what would happen next, something caught his attention. He could barely see it because it was in the corner of his vision, and every time he tried to move his eyes or head toward this something, it would vanish and appear somewhere else at the corner of his sight. So he did the only thing that he thought was a good option. He waited, and waited, and waited. After what seemed like weeks, he mentally screamed in frustration. Who knows how much time he has lost lying there, and waiting for something to happen. After calming himself, he narrowed his eyes and decided to do things himself. He started to crawl towards this thing that was nagging his mind. Now that he thought about it, it wasn't light, but it somehow looked different than the darkness around him. Back to the matter, he started to crawl towards the thing. He wasn't entirely how it worked, because like he stated before, he couldn't feel his body, but somehow, like his body was reacting to metal commands, started to move towards the thing. It was truly a youthful experience since he couldn't feel his body, but he somehow moved or crawled. He was sure that one of his friends would like to try this, and knowing the man, he would call it something akin youthful physical training for the mind or something like this. Back with him, after some effort, he was lying in front of the thing. With a single command, his arm, that he still couldn't feel nor see, started to ascend towards this thing. There was a sudden flash of light that allowed him to see his finger that touched the thing. Upon closer inspection, it was a green crystal embedded in a large and old tree. After the light ceased, he closed his eyes as a wave of nausea hit him, making him move his, now feeling, hand towards his forehead to rub his temples. Shit, haven't felt like this since dash. His train of thoughts was interrupted by the sudden disappearance of the ground he was lying, making him fall down. As he was falling down through the air, there was only one thing on his mind. It's time! Suddenly he felt the feeling of water under him, making him close his eyes tight on instinct, and as soon as he felt that he was underwater, he started to swim upwards. A moment later, he smacked his forehead and pushed chakra to the sole of his feet, making the water shot him out. As soon as he was out of the water, he slowly opened his eyes and looked around the clearing he found himself on. There were many trees around him, and on the ground were patches of red, yellow and orange flowers. The only problem was that the trees and flowers were slowly starting to rot. Now that it wasn't so dark, we can find that he had short, spiky brown hair, 2 locks of which were wrapped in bandages framing either side of his face and possessed stern facial features. Around his forehead were wrapped bandages, similar way to how Hitayate are worn. He wore a light-colored kimono with magatama adorned around the collar. The kimono was held closed by a dark-colored sash. Underneath, he wore a black full-body suit. As his black, pupilless eyes swept around the area, he found what he was looking for. In the middle of the clearing was lying a blonde-haired boy. After seeing the brown-haired man grinned and walked over to him. "Wake up, I am finally here," he shouted, making the blonde boy look at him with a quizzical expression. "What are you looking at?" The older of them asked, making the blonde to blink and shrug. I didn't think that being dead would be like this, the boy answered and pushed himself up to a sitting position. The older of them narrowed his eyes at the blonde. What do you mean dead? And what's your name? The brunette asked. My name is Namikaze Naruto, and what's yours? Naruto asked. The brown-haired man sat down in front of Naruto and gave the blonde a grin and pointed at his chest with his thumb. My name is Otsutsuki Ashura. You should have heard about me, Ashura introduced himself, but his grin faltered when he saw Naruto giving him a puzzled look. Never heard of you, Naruto answered nonchalantly, causing a tick to appear above Ashura's right eye. The brown-haired man took a calming breath and made a cool pose, his chest puffed forward, both hands on his hips while he stared ahead. Then let me introduce myself. I am Otsutsuki Ashura, son of Otsutsuki Hagamoro, also called Sage of the Six Paths, and Otsutsuki Tatsuki, brother of Otsutsuki Indra, and most importantly, I am the founder of the Senju and Uzumaki clans, Ashura said, totally shocking the blonde boy. What? It was the only thing the blonde could ask. Ah, I see you seem to be impressed. Haha. I am also the one who gave Senju Hashirama the power of Mokuton to continue my legacy. The older of the two intend with a grin and nod. What do you mean you gave Hashirama-sama the Mokuton? Wasn't it a bloodline? The young Chunin asked, making Ashura laugh. When he saw the older man's reaction, Naruto's right started to twitch. After at least a minute of laughing, Ashura stopped and looked at the blonde with an amused look. Nope, Ashura answered and lied down on the soft grass. It wasn't a bloodline. It was an ability I created and gave him to make sure that the Uchiha and Senju clans will be able to create peace, he continued, confusing Naruto. But why with the Uchiha clan? I can understand that they were powerful, but there were so many other clans, like Kagaya or Yuki, Naruto stated, making Ashura chuckle softly. It should be natural that I would want my clans to be at peace with my Aniki's clan, doesn't it? The first user of Mokuton answered, making Naruto's eyes to widen in realization. But enough about me for a moment, tell me something about you, Ashura stated. Naruto lied as well and hummed for a moment. Well, my name is Namikaze Naruto, son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. From my knowledge, I am the last Namikaze and Uzumaki clan around since the attack on Yuzushiogakure, the blonde said, making Ashura close his eyes for a few moments. I see, was all he said. The two lied there for a few minutes in silence until Naruto broke it. Naruto sat up with a start and looked at Ashura with narrowed eyes. Wait, shouldn't you be like dead or something? Naruto asked, causing the brown-haired man to chuckle. I was waiting until you asked this. Well, I think it's time to go back to business, Ashura said and sat up. What do you mean with business? The blonde asked. As you know, you were hit with a fatal wound, right? The brown-haired man asked and got a nod in return. Normally someone would die from this, but luckily for you, you are not normal, he said with a grin, making Naruto's right eye to twitch. I don't know if I should be insulted or not, the blonde muttered under his breath, but Ashura ignored him. So I am gonna do what I did with Hashirama boy, the founder of two clans continued, getting a raised brow from Naruto. You know, Hashirama was exactly in the same state when I met him for the first time, Ashura said with a chuckle. It was his second mission where he had actually to fight and fate had it that he faced against two members of Uchiha clan. Of course, while he was strong then, he couldn't defeat two seasoned warriors by himself and got hit with a powerful katan jutsu that burned his body from inside, burning both his lungs and liver, Ashura said, making Naruto grimace as he pictured himself the outcome of such jutsu. Exactly at this spot, I met him and we talked, right like I did with you. During the time we spent, I used the power granted to me to search through his soul to see what he wants to do in his life. After seeing that his soul was pure, I decided to continue my legacy and gave him the Mokuton, the brown-haired man answered. But how did he survive? Without two lungs and liver, he should be dead, Naruto asked with wide eyes. Ashura laughed once more before answering the question. While yes, normally it would kill everybody, but when one is able to use Mokuton, he is also able to draw natural energy from all around him with ease. This then creates the Senjutsu chakra, which is able to heal almost every fatal wound. But let's not forget about my life force, which in Senju clan has gone into the regeneration and healing abilities and in Uzumaki clan into the lifespan, Ashura said, shocking Naruto. I see, Naruto answered slowly, making Ashura chuckle once more. I think it's time for you to go back to your world. Your girlfriend might need some help, he said with a light snicker, seeing Naruto blush. She is not my girlfriend, the blonde boy shouted, but before he could say anything else, he felt Ashura place his hand on Naruto's chest and suddenly the blonde felt a large surge of chakra flowing through his chakra pathway. Everything around these two started to flash into blinding white and the last words that Naruto heard from Ashura were "Make our clans proud, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto," and everything disappeared into a white flash. Temari couldn't believe it. She had to watch as her only and best friend fought in a death battle to protect her, and she couldn't do anything. Not when he was in Genjutsu, not when the man started to destroy him in a taijutsu battle, not when Naruto died. She was weak and she couldn't do anything but watch as her fellow blonde lied there, unmoving. Dead. Tears started to flow down her cheeks as she watched Naruto's corpse lying there lifelessly. Temari hasn't even noticed Akira approach her until he backhanded her. More tears started to flow down her cheeks as she felt a bruise to form on her right cheek. She knew exactly what the Iwa meant with fun, but she couldn't do anything. I am sorry, Naruto-kun. I wasn't able to help you, were the thoughts running through her mind. She closed her eyes and waited for her punishment for being too weak. The brown-haired special Jonin walked slowly towards his prey while in his mind he was laughing gleefully. Not only we have accomplished our mission, but I got lucky and killed the son of Yondaime Hokage. Besides, I have some time for fun before brothers come, he thought, and a smirk came. As Akira bends down to grab Temari by her hair. But before he could clench his hand around her hair, he felt immense chakra surge right behind him. As he looked over his shoulder, his eyes widened when he saw what caused it. Naruto, who rightfully should have been dead, was slowly rising to his feet, while silver and dark brown chakra started to dance around his body. The hole in Naruto's chest started to steam and hiss, and right before Akira's eyes, the fatal wound which would kill everyone else simply closed itself. Naruto lifted his head, and Akira's breath hitched in his throat. Instead of those sky-blue eyes that Naruto usually had, there was a pair of glowing silver eyes. Akira squinted his eyes, and there, on the bottom half of the eyes, was a shade darker silver which danced like fire. Before the shock say anything, Naruto brought his hands in the snake seal and spoke a single word, which made Akira shiver in fright. Mokutan! Naruto shouted, and suddenly 3 thick, brown roots shot out from the ground, right in front of the special Jonin. Akira had no time to think about what just happened before he was impaled by the first root in the heart, the second in the liver, and the third in the throat. That was exactly the scene at which Kakashi appeared, Akira brothers unconscious, bound and carried by 2 shadow clones. Oh shit, Kakashi muttered to himself as he watched Naruto use the strongest Kekkai Genkai which ever existed in Konoha and the whole history of the shinobi world, and was used by only one person before him. Hokage office, 2 hours later. It was a day like always for Hiruzen. The old man spends the whole day doing paperwork and assigning missions for the shinobi of his village. It was a normal, easygoing day that was about to end, as the old Sarutobi dismissed another mission request from the villagers, which mission was to assassinate the secret Jinchuriki of Kyubi no Yoko, who was Hiruzen's grandson. The old man was slowly getting angry how much the villagers hated Konohamaru, because even though the kid was only 2 years old, there were countless assassinations attempts made by villagers. Many were stopped by his ANBU, but there was an assassination attempt 2 months ago, where 3 Jonin from IWA attacked the ANBU guards while villagers tried to kill the boy themselves. Of course, the IWA Nins were fresh missing Nin who escaped the village a week before the accident. Luckily for Konohamaru and the Sarutobi clan, and unluckily for the civilians, Naruto was visiting Hiruzen to talk about Fuinjutsu ideas. The blonde boy by luck mistook Konohamaru's room for bathroom, and when he entered, he quickly dispatched 3 civilians, men and 2 women, who wanted to kill the baby, before they could harm Konohamaru. Unfortunately, Naruto heard of the man called Konohamaru a demon reincarnation, and it didn't take too long for Naruto to connect the dots. Of course, as a person who learned about Fuinjutsu and trusted his father, Naruto understood that the young Sarutobi was only the jailer of Kyubi. Hiruzen was broken from his musing when he saw a puff of smoke appear in the middle of his desk. Once the smoke dissipated, the old man saw Pakun holding a scroll with his jaw. What is it, Pakun? Did something happen? The old man asked, and Pakun gave him the scroll. Not sure, Kakashi told me to give it to you as soon as possible, the Niken said, and sat down and waited for the response which had to get. At least that was what Kakashi told him to do. Wait for the response. The brown-furred dog watched as Hiruzen's face started to pale as he read further into the scroll until he dropped it, and summoned an ANBU. Lizard! Bring me Tsunade! Tell her it is a matter of utmost importance. Hiruzen commanded, and the Umbu vanished in a puff of smoke. 3 minutes later, Tsunade opened his office door, and after walking to the middle of the room, she waited for Hiruzen to start. Normally she would simply be annoyed that he summoned her in her free time, but after hearing utmost importance she knew that something serious came up. How did she know that it was important? The last time he told her that something was utmost important, he told her that the Kyubi was rampaging in the village. And once before this, he told her that the Third Shinobi War has started. ANBU, leave us, Hiruzen commanded, and the 4 silent guardians disappeared without any trace. The Sandaime Hokage made a single-hand seal and activated the silencing seal. Tsunade, there is no easy way to say it, so I will be blunt, Hiruzen said and leaned back in his seat. Naruto has somehow awakened the Mokutan, and Kakashi asked for scrolls so Naruto can learn from them, the old Sarutobi said, and closed his eyes while massaging his temples. Tsunade stood frozen. She just got informed that someone, and this someone is her godson, just awakened her grandfather's Kekkai Genkai. After a full minute of complete silence, Tsunade grinned and turned to Pakun. You will be delivering the scrolls to Kakashi? She asked, and the Niken shrugged with a bored expression. It would seem so, he answered, causing Tsunade's temper to rise and a tick to appear above her right eye. Why, you little? Take this seriously. She shouted and was about to lash at the brown-furred animal, until she heard a cough coming from her sensei. Tsunade, if you would bring the scrolls now so Pakun could deliver them, Hiruzen asked, making Tsunade grin once more and nod. She started to leave the office and shouted over her shoulder. You got it, sensei. I will be back in a moment, were the last words from her before the office door closed. Hiruzen sighed and lit his pipe. So you even awakened Shodai-sama Kekkei Genkai, huh? You truly are special, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen thought with a smile. 1 year later, Konoha Gates. It was a peaceful day in Konoha. The sun which shined from above on the village, accompanied by a refreshing breeze, created the perfect atmosphere for the inhabitants of Konoha. For those who were aspiring ninja, the weather was perfect for a training session, and for the civilians, it was the perfect time of the year to spend time with friends outside. Of course, not everyone could spend time outside in the perfect weather. The best example would be the 2 chunin who had to spend the time in a booth, which was located 5 meters from the great gates of Konoha. The gates were closed at all time. The only exceptions were when someone was allowed to leave or enter the village. Of course, not everyone had the rights to enter the village, so everyone who could have passports and their individual IDs with them. The 2 chunin who was in the booth had to check the passports of everyone who wishes to enter Konoha. If the person was allowed, one of the guards who signal one of the numerous chunin who was standing guard at the great walls of Konoha. They would then open the gates and allow the person to enter the village. Of course, after the person was inside, the gates would be instantly closed. Inuzuka Haruto, together with his Niken, was one of the 2 chunin stationed for today in the booth. The other one was Ryuga Masao. He was a civilian who decided to follow his father's footsteps and become a shinobi. The 2 chunin spent more than enough time together in the guard booth, so they were an acquaintance. As the 2 men continued to play their next round of card, Haruto's Niken started to bark, gaining his partner attention. What was it, boy? The Inuzuka asked as he turned to the brown-furred hound. The Niken barked twice, making Haruto frown. What does he say? Masao asked while standing up and putting on his chunin vest. His job partner followed suit and strapped his kunai holster on his right thigh. Shiro says he can sense 3 chakra signatures coming towards us. 1 of the ANBU level, 1 low jonin, 1 mid-jonin, Haruto replied, and the 2 chunin exited the small booth and stood right in front of the gate. Soon the 2 could see 3 figures on the horizon. There were 2 small silhouettes and 1 taller. First of the small one was wearing a black battle kimono, had blonde hair put in 4 pigtails. The next small one was wearing all black clothes and a chunin vest with a crimson haori, with black flames licking the bottom of it, over it. The 2 chunin could see how the haori fluttered in the winds, as did the spiky blonde hair of the person. The last person was wearing a Konoha jonin attire, while his hitate was covering his left eye. The person also had a face mask and was reading a small orange-colored book. When the 3 got closer to the gate, the 2 chunin recognized the trio. After the 3 showed their papers, Masao signaled one of the chunin on the wall to open the gates. As soon as the 3 entered the village and the gates behind them closed, they walked towards the Hokage office to report their arrival. Once they arrived, they waited until the secretary let them in. A few minutes later she nodded to them and they entered the office. Hokage-sama, we have accomplished our mission, Kakashi said with a bow, which was mirrored by Naruto and Temari. The Sandaime Hokage smiles and nodded. Very well, how did it go? The old man asked, causing Kakashi to smile under his mask. Total success, the silver-haired man said, making Hiruzen smile. Glad to hear this, Kakashi. Why don't you 3 take a sit and tell me about the mission? The old man said. The 3 took a sit and started to retell their training trip. After about 30 minutes, they were finished and Hiruzen asked another important question. Tell me, Kakashi, if you would have to place those 2 in our ranks, where would you place them? Hiruzen asked. The Jonin looked over the 2 children for a second before turning back to his leader. I would place Temari-san with the Genin team, while Naruto I recommend him to become Anbu. Kakashi said the last part firmly and bowed to the Sandaime. Everyone in the room was stunned by the recommendation since almost no one gets recommended by a captain. Are you sure about this, Kakashi? Hiruzen asked as he leaned back in his seat and waited for the Sharingan user to answer. Yes, Hokage-sama. Naruto will be able to learn more in ANBU than in regular forces, and it will help him get experience fast. Besides, Naruto's Fuinjutsu and Mokuton will be a great addition in the ANBU, and his overall skills together with his cunning mind make him a deadly opponent, Kakashi answered. The Sandaime hummed for a second, before turning to Naruto. What do you say, Naruto-kun? Do you want to join ANBU? The old leader asked as he looked right into Naruto's eyes. The blonde stayed silent for a few moments, thinking about the pros and cons. After about a minute of silence, he opened his eyes and kneeled in front of Hiruzen. I accept, Hokage-sama, the blonde said, making Kakashi smile under his mask and Hiruzen to sigh. The old man rubbed his temples and muttered under his breath. How will I explain this to Tsunade? He asked himself and coughed in his hand. Very well, I will have Kakashi bring you your ANBU equipment tonight, he said, and when Naruto stood up, he smiled. Welcome to ANBU, Dragon. Following day, afternoon. At the morning, Kakashi came and took Naruto to show him around the ANBU HQ. While they walked around, he told Naruto about the subdivisions of ANBU, the Hunter Nin, counterintelligence, torture and interrogation, and the assault unit. The assault unit were the ones who got sent out on missions. They were also the first one that would engage in battle if an invasion or a missing Nin would infiltrate the village. Their last job was also to protect the village from inside, so even the assault unit had guard duties, which, like Kakashi said, was simply sitting in shadows for a few hours and intervene only if the Uchiha police force, UPF for short, were not around. The blonde was now walking in his ANBU gear, consisting of a skin-tight black sleeves shirt, black ninja pants, a gray flak jacket, metal arm guards and gloves which went to Naruto's elbow. He was also wearing black ninja sandals and a porcelain mask, which resembled the Chinese dragon. On his left shoulder was the red spiral ANBU tattoo, which was used to communicate between the members of the squad. Around his right thigh was wrapped a kunai holster, while he had 3 pouches for different weapons needed. Over his right shoulder was peeking the handle of a ninjato, which was black, the same color as the sheath. He and Kakashi just finished the walk through the ANBU HQ and were walking towards Naruto's squad training ground. Of course, Naruto was assigned to the same squad that Kakashi was captain in. The blonde also had heard that in Kakashi's squad, Squad Rho, was a certain crow. A few moments later, and the 2 ANBU were standing on a clearing. Of course, they weren't alone there, as Naruto could see at least 10 other ANBU training their individual skills. Kakashi, or his ANBU codename Dog, clapped twice to gain the attention of everyone. Alright, everyone come here please for a moment, the silver-haired ANBU said, and everyone on the clearing came to hear what was that about. From today on we have a new member of our squad. Everyone meet Dragon, Kakashi said, and Naruto bowed towards his senpai. Nice to meet you, Naruto said, and looked over various people standing in front of him. Kakashi Taishu, if you don't mind me asking, but how old is Dragon? Asked a purple-haired girl with a cat-like mask. Kakashi put his right hand on my shoulder and chuckled lightly. Dragon here is 7 years old, the dog-masked ninja said, getting a few gasps of shock. Are you sure that he is ready for ANBU? Shouldn't he be like in the academy or something? Asked an ox-masked man. He had brown hair and was looking only a few years older than Naruto. Maybe a small demonstration. Any dragon? Kakashi asked, looking at Naruto, who nodded with a slight smirk. Alright, let's give them some space, Kakashi said, and everyone besides 2 ANBU jumped back to the trees around the clearing. As Naruto looked over his opponent, he saw that Ox had large muscles on his arms. Probably a taijutsu specialist, he went rather into strength than into speed, Naruto said to himself as he waited for the signal to start the fight. Begin! Naruto heard Kakashi's voice shout. Instantly, Ox rushed at Naruto, proving the blonde's assumptions right. The older ANBU's right fist shot forward Naruto's face, but the blonde easily moved his head to the right. Ox followed by a powerful roundhouse kick, under which Naruto ducked and rolled under Ox. Once he was behind the ANBU agent, who didn't turn around yet, Naruto used Ox's back as a springboard and jumped a few meters back. When the blonde landed, he looked to where he was previously standing and sighed in relief when he saw the tree, which was broken in half. Deciding to counterattack, Naruto took out 4 kunai and threw them. They landed in about 3 meters in front of Ox in a square. The older ANBU scoffed when he saw the 4 kunai and rushed at the blonde. Can't you even throw kunai right? The brown-haired ANBU shouted. Naruto quickly made a few hand seals. His hands were a blur to most of the ANBU, while Ox was still running at him. The blonde ended his hand seals and called, Raiden, Raiden's will. At the same moment that Ox entered the mist 4 kunai, lighting shot from Naruto's palm and connected with the 4 kunai. As lighting started to dance between the 4 projectiles, Ox tried to escape the square, only to be shocked by lighting. The brown-haired ANBU tried to use substitution, but he couldn't feel his chakra. What have you done to me? Why can't I use my chakra? Ox shouted and tried to run out of the square only to be shocked once again. Each of the kunai has a seal on them. The 2 on my left are chakra disruption seals, which makes you unable to use and fail your chakra. Those 2 on my right are chakra absorption seals, which will suck out you chakra, Naruto said and walked slowly towards Ox. The blonde placed his ninjato on Ox's shoulder, next to his neck. Winner, Dragon! Kakashi shouted and the blonde could hear light applause in the background. Naruto stopped his own jutsu and took the 4 kunai and offered his hand to Ox, who shook it. Good match, Naruto said softly, getting only a grunt from the Ox-masked ANBU. The 2 walked over to where the rest of the squad was and heard the rest of them talking about how Naruto defeated an experienced ANBU member. Alright, I think that it is time to change our normal patrol schedule now that we got a new member, don't you think? Kakashi asked the other ANBU members. Today's hospital guard duty will take Crow and Dragon, Dog said, getting to nods, and the 2 ANBU disappeared in a puff of smoke. Hospital. A few minutes later, the 2 ANBU took positions in the main lobby. They decided that they would take the north corner of the ceiling. After a few minutes of awkward silence, Naruto asked, It has been a long time since we worked together, any sure sway? The blonde asked quietly. The crow-masked ANBU shook his head and Naruto was sure that he was grinning. When did you come back? Sure sway asked in equal quick voice as they watched a civilian woman enter the lobby. Yesterday, somewhere at noon, but I was too tired to find either you or Itachi. So how has been the ANBU live, Crow-senpai? Naruto asked with a smirk, only to get hit in the shoulder by Sure sway. Shut up, do not ever call me that again. If you want to give me some honorific, then Shursui-sama sounds the best, the dark-haired teen said, causing Naruto to snort. Do you know when Itachi is free to leave the UPF? Naruto asked as he watched a nurse walk by. The older ANBU hummed for a few moments. If I am correct, then he still has about 1 month, then he can leave, Shursui said with a nod. He also said that he wishes to join ANBU, the Uchiha said, making Naruto's eyes to widen. Never thought he would join the NBU, Naruto said, but under his mask, he was grinning. Soon our team will be together again, he thought. 1 week. Naruto had been in ANBU for 1 week and he already hated the patrol duty. It was bearable when he was on it with someone like Kakashi, Shursui or Yuzuki Yugao, whose code name was Cat. Rest of the members either treated him like some academy student who can't do anything right or they were simply not talkative. So when Naruto's today's guard duty in the Hokage office ended, he was not happy. He had spent the whole day with Ox, Lizard, and Bull watching the old man doing paperwork. The worst thing was that both Ox and Bull were of the not talkative group and Lizard deemed it too troublesome to talk with him. Guess from which clan comes. Of course, this week he has trained almost non-stop. Either alone, with Shursui or with the whole squad to train teamwork and strategies. As Naruto entered the locker room, he went over to where his squad lockers were. He was surprised to see Boar sitting there, obviously waiting for someone. The blonde shrugged and walked over to his locker and opened it. The sound of the locker being opened cut Boar from his thoughts, and the brown-haired ANBU looked to Naruto. Naruto-san, I was waiting for you, the Boar-masked ANBU said. Naruto looked over his shoulder while placing his mask in the locker, which was soon followed by his ninjato. What can I do for you, Tenzo-senpai? The blonde asked as he started to take off his gray vest. Tenzo stood up and walked over to the blonde. I was wondering if you would like to spar, Mokutan only. It would be a nice experience to fight someone who has the bloodline naturally, the black-eyed ANBU stated. Naruto thought about this for a few moments until he decided that training session wouldn't be too bad. Sure, why not? Lead the way, Naruto said while placing his vest and forearm protectors in his locker and closing it afterward. The two ANBU agents soon found themselves in one of the indoor training ground in the HQ. It was a large room with dirt as ground, instead of the usual cobblestone used in the ANBU HQ. The room was illuminated by large lamps that were placed on the ceiling, while there were no windows on the gray walls surrounding the room. The two walked to the middle of the room, 5 meters of distance between the two. Naruto looked over to his senpai and nodded with a smirk. Once Tenzo saw Naruto nod, he took out a kunai and threw it high into the air. There was silence for a moment until the sound of kunai hitting the ground was heard and both ANBU jumped back doing a sequence of hand seals. Mokutan, cutting jutsu! Naruto shouted and a spear of a wood shot from his palms towards Tenzo who ended his hand seals and thrust his hand forward while shouting the jutsu. Name, Mokutan, King's Guard. A thick and heavy-looking shield merged out from the brown-haired teen's hand and protected him from the spear. Before he could do anything, the one branch which Naruto shot at Tenzo multiplied into 6 another, shocking the other ANBU. One of the branches was able to penetrate Tenzo's defense, and it flew right at the brown-haired teen face. The only thing that saved him was his honed reflexes, but even then the branch was able to cut his cheek slightly, drawing blood. Tenzo quickly cancelled his jutsu and jumped away, saving himself from the 5 spikes made of wood that shot from under him. As soon as Tenzo was in the air, he started doing his hand seals. He extended his hand forward and called, Mokutan, Great Forest Jutsu. His hand changed into trees and extended towards Naruto. Usually, this technique wasn't used for attack, but Tenzo manipulated the wood so the end of the trees changed into spiky spear-like weapons. A moment before the attack got to him, Naruto palmed the ground Mokutan, wooden locking wall jutsu. The wood locked Naruto away from Tenzo's attack. As soon as Naruto felt that the Boar-masked ANBU stopped his technique, the blonde started doing hand seals. At the same moment Tenzo stopped his technique, he started going through hand seal but stopped when he felt the chakra input that Naruto was releasing. The brown-haired Umbu knew that if he wanted to avoid the hospital, he had to block this. Mokutan, Wood Dragon Jutsu. Naruto shouted the name of his most powerful Mokutan Jutsu. The wood that was used to protect him started to morph into a large Chinese dragon, the yellow, piercing eyes looking at its prey, and with a powerful roar, the dragon shot towards Tenzo. The brown-haired teen had just barely managed to hit the ground with his palm and shout out his jutsu. Mokutan, Wooden Locking Wall Jutsu, and like previously with Naruto, wood formed around the older ANBU agent, just in time to protect him from the large form of the dragon. Tenzo, who was still behind the wall, saw that cracks began to form on the jutsu. Without any hesitation, the brunette knelt and started pumping chakra into the wall, making it repair itself. After about a minute Tenzo felt that Naruto stopped his jutsu, so the older ANBU decided to drop the wall. When Tenzo dropped his jutsu he saw Naruto going through another string of hand seals. But before the blonde could finish, they both heard a voice call to them. Tenzo, Naruto, we have a mission. They both turned to where the voice came and saw Yugao standing in the door with her hand folded over her chest. Report tomorrow in the meeting room at 4 in the morning, she said and vanished in Shunshin. Well, I think that we should conserve our energy for the mission, Naruto said, gaining a nod from Tenzo. Well, I will see you tomorrow. Thank for the spar, Naruto said and also vanished in a puff of smoke, closely followed by Tenzo. Next morning, the night went fast for the blonde ANBU, and we find him now awake at 2:45 in the morning. As soon as he woke up, he went to wash his face and teeth, after which he took a shower. When he was done, he went to his wardrobe and took out a white long-sleeved shirt, long black jeans, and a black jacket. After putting it on, he walked over to his nightstand and tied his black-colored hitait around his forehead. Shortly after getting dressed, the blonde went to the kitchen to prepare himself breakfast. While doing this, he thought about all he learned about his new mission. So an A rank, possibly S rank, a mission to Land of Iron, huh? He thought as he started to place his food on a plate. Whole villages being found dead, missing patrolling samurai, unknown attacker, he continued while starting to eat. Team consisting of dog, crow, cat, Dargan, boar. Dog as the leader while boar second in command were his last thought before he concentrated on the food. After 10 minutes, Naruto was done and ready. He walked over to the main door and after putting on his black umbu shoes, he opened the door and walked outside. As soon as he walked out, a breeze flew over him, making him shiver. Naruto quickly entered his house again and closed the door behind. Damn, is it always this cold so early? He muttered to himself. The blonde walked over to a closet which was near the door and after searching for a moment, he found what he was looking for. 2 minutes later, Naruto with his jacket zipped up and a red scarf around his neck walked towards the secret entry of ANBU HQ. The walk has taken Naruto about 20 minutes since he was living in the clan district, and the entry to the HQ was hidden in the civilian part. The blonde walked through the empty street of the civilian side of the village and stopped in front of one of the few 24/7 bars in Konoha. Of course, everyone could enter it and like every bar they could buy alcohol, food, and cigarettes, but only those who knew the secret code or phrase could enter the ANBU HQ. To make sure that the code or phrase won't be found out, they change each week and on every Monday. The ANBU captain had to inform his squad about the code through the seal on their shoulders. And to make sure that no one can guess the password, each ANBU squad chooses one member of their squad to act as the password creator who creates the code when their squad's time to give the new code is. Wanna guess who his squad wrote password creator? Naruto walked over to the bartender and took a sit in front of the man. What can I get you, lad? The old bald man asked the blonde boy who sighed and muttered under his breath. Crimson eyes are better than white ones, Naruto said, causing the bartender to nod and turn around. The man poured sake into a cup and placed it in front of Naruto. Here you go, lad, the bald man said. Naruto nodded and took out a single piece of paper which looked like 250 ryo and placed it on the table. Naruto drank the sake, or more like normal water which was only used to look like sake, while the man examined the piece of paper. After a moment the man grunted and laid the money back on the counter. Watch out, lad, this is as strong as the Toad Boss summon strikes, the man muttered absently while cleaning some cups. Naruto nodded and stood up. So the password is Gamabunta, huh? Of course, there is a secondary password given to you by the bartender. The blonde walked to the toilet when he took the second last cabin and closed the door behind him. He then pushed second left brick which also happened to be the seventh from down. As soon as he did this, he pushed chakra into his tattoo on his left shoulder and tapped the door behind him twice. As soon as he did this, the wall in front of him started to move downwards, without making any sound. Naruto entered the, what seemed like a black tunnel, which was lightened when the wall behind him closed. As soon as this happened, Naruto started walking down the tunnel towards the ANBU HQ. Of course, there is a quicker way to enter the HQ, but this included walking up the whole way to the Hokage's monument's top. Wait, he could have shined there. Meh, he still has some time. Soon a large, steel door come in Naruto's line of vision. In front of the door were standing 2 ANBU guards. Without any words between them, Naruto took of the left sleeve of his jacket and lifted his shirt, showing his ANBU tattoo. One of the guards pushed chakra into his tattoo and Naruto's and both the guards' tattoos started to glow a bit. One of the guards nodded to Naruto and opened the door for him. This was also another ability of the tattoo. When ANBU pushed chakra into his own, all others' agents' nearby tattoos would glow, showing that they were real things, not fakes. The blonde walked through one of the many lounges for ANBU, which was a large room used for ANBU to rest before or after the mission. The blonde couldn't help but smirk when he saw a hawk, lion, monkey, and snail-masked ANBU in the room, complaining that they had to do the Hokage office guard duty again. Naruto left the room and entered a long corridor with doors on left and right. The blonde walked for a few moments until he stopped in front of the door with the sign for row. The blonde entered it, and was surprised to see Shui already in the locker room. Yo, Shui, the blonde greeted while walking over to his locker. Shui gave Naruto a grin before starting to put on his arm guards. Hello, Naruto Kohai, the Uchiha said with a grin only to get in the shoulder by Naruto. You should show me some respect, the Uchiha stated while putting on his vest. Of course, his grin got wider when he saw Naruto's right eye twitch. Oh, shut up already and tell me something about the mission, the blonde said whilst taking off his jacket and shirt. Shui strapped his ninjato on his back as he started to explain their mission. There have been large death count in the last 3 weeks in Iron Country, Shui said, confusing Naruto who put on his black ANBU shirt. Shouldn't be this like a C rank or a B rank mission? I mean bandits or some random missing nin? Naruto asked as he took off his black jeans. He raised an eyebrow when he saw Shui shake his head. That's not it. In the mission request, Mifune, the samurai general of Land of Iron, says that he has sent several units of trained samurai to kill whoever does this. No one came back, Shui said as he took out his crow mask and placed it the side of his face, and used chakra to hold it there. Were they able to recover at least one body? The blonde questioned curiously as he put on his black gloves on, soon followed by the armed guards. Shursui closed his locker and sat on a bench next to the lockers. Yeah, the report says that on one night, exactly when the clock tower started to ring at midnight, 2 bodies appeared a few meters in front of the main gate, the Uchiha said and watched as Naruto finished putting on the second armed guard. The blonde stayed quiet for a moment in which he put on his vest and tied the 3 pouches to his back. When he was about to grab his ninjato, his hand froze in the air. Have they any report about how the bodies looked? Naruto finally asked and grabbed his ninjato by the sheath. The dark-haired teen nodded, even though Naruto couldn't see it, and closed his eyes. Yeah, they say that one of the bodies, a samurai, had several non-fatal injuries which looked like cuts from a sword, a big and thick sword, Shursui said as he opened his eyes and watched as Naruto reached for his mask after strapping a kunai pouch on his right thigh. Sound like someone tortured the poor man before killing him, Naruto said and placed his mask on side of his face, the same way Shursui did. The said Uchiha snorted. Yeah, but the second person got worse of the two, the teen said as Naruto closed his locker and took a seat across him. Oh? Naruto asked with a raised brow. The Uchiha shrugged. I don't know about you, but being tortured with a sword is better than being used as a chewing toy by some animal with razor-sharp teeth, especially when you are a defenseless civilian, or a major of the city in this case, Shursui said, causing the blonde to wince. The two spent some time talking until Tenzo came, soon followed by Yugao and Kakashi, who came about 2 minutes before 4. The 5 ANBU then walked to one of the free lounges where Kakashi once more summarized the mission request. 5 minutes later the ANBU squad consisting of Captain Dog, second-in-command Boar, Cat, Crow, and Dragon were exiting the village through the main gate, seeing how they had a perfectly straight line towards Land of Iron. 16 hours later, Squad Rho has been running for the whole day to enter Land of Iron as soon as possible. Only after this long distance, have they decided to call it an end for today, seeing how Shursui, Naruto, and Yugao were very tired. But after running for so long at the pace that both Kakashi and Tezno had set up wasn't a huge surprise. The group of 5 has decided to make a camp on one of the crowns of the huge trees, seeing how the whole being was surrounded by these trees. The 4 older ANBU were about to begin to eat their ration bars, well until they felt the smell of food. Kakashi, Yugao, Tenzo, and Shursui turned to look at Naruto who was grinning at the bowl of ramen which was in front of him. Feeling the stares on him, Naruto looked over to his teammates, only for his right eye to twitch when he saw the 4 hungry looks his teammates were giving him. Haven't you 4 prepared your food for the mission? The blonde asked rhetorically, knowing very well the answer. Seeing how his teammates were looking at him with somewhat pleading looks, the blonde took out a single scroll from his pouch. With a sigh, Naruto unsealed another 4 scroll and gave them to his teammates, who quickly unsealed the content only to grin when they saw 4 bowls of fresh, steaming, delicious ramen in front of them. It didn't take too long for everyone to dig into their meals, which were followed by a bowl of rice with some teriyaki chicken. Soon the 5 ANBU sealed the bowls back and gave the seals back to Naruto. Damn, Naruto, where did you get this? It was delicious, Yugao exclaimed as she unsealed her sleeping bag. The blonde grinned and scratched the back of his head. Well, I have found something akin to a hobby in cooking, so I decided to make some proper food for us, because I knew that no of you would have anything to eat, the blonde said as he placed his ninjato next to his sleeping bag. His pouches soon followed as the blonde flipped on his sleeping bag. The blonde lied there in silence with Tenzo on his left, and Yugao on his right. Meanwhile, the 3 rested. Kakashi and Shursui went to check out the surrounding area. As the blonde thought about the mission, a thought struck him. Nah, Yugao-senpai, Naruto stated, making Yugao look at the young blonde ANBU. I was wondering, wasn't there some law that made ninja unable to enter the Land of Iron? The blonde asked. Yes, there's a law that was signed by all 5 Kage and the leader of Land of Iron that Land of Iron will stay neutral should any conflict would break out, but for this, they requested that Shinobi nations leave Land of Iron alone, the purple-haired girl answered, confusing Naruto slightly. Then shouldn't we leave Land of Iron alone and let them handle this thing by themselves? The blonde asked as he took his mask and started to inspect the painting once again. This became a sort of habit to the blonde. Whenever he was thinking about something, he would inspect the mask. His eyes turned to Yugao who giggled, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. Because they don't want to get involved in wars, doesn't mean that they don't hire ninjas sometimes. Like now, because they need specialists which they lack. The Kenjutsu mistress answered, gaining a nod of understanding from Naruto. Next day, noon, the 5 ninjas were running at a more relaxed pace today, and after 2 hours they finally got to the border between the Land of Fire and Land of Iron. As the weather started to change from the sunny and warm country into the cold and cloudy weather where the snows rain the whole year. When the squad saw 5 samurai waiting for them, they slowed down and walked towards them. At half of the way towards the samurai, everyone heard a puff of smoke and they turned to where the sound came from. Behind the ANBU, Naruto was standing with a scroll in his left hand and a red scarf in the right one. Everyone looked puzzled at him when he put the scroll away and started to tie the scarf around his neck. Naruto looked at his teammates and blinked in confusion, but one could see it because of the porcelain mask. What? Naruto asked when he saw the 4 ANBU looking at him. Tenzo was about to tell something, but Kakashi beat him to it. No, nothing, Dragon, Kakashi said, turning around and walking towards the samurai. The 4 others ANBU followed, and when Kakashi got close enough to Shursui, he whispered, "So you haven't told him that these shirts can be warmed up by a little bit of chakra?" The dog-masked ANBU asked. Crow chuckled and embarrassed and scratched his mask, where his right cheek would be. "Nope, kinda forgot," the Uchiha answered quietly, and Kakashi swore that he could see Shursui grinning under his mask. Well, he could read the instructions. "Oh well," the silver-haired ANBU muttered with a grin. The 5 ANBU soon met with the 5 samurai who asked who they were, and after Kakashi showed them the mission scroll, the squad was let go. Kakashi decided that running now towards the capital of Land of Iron would be easier than it would be at night when the snow's heavier. During the next 2.5 hours, nothing happened. The group was running in silence to come to the capital as fast as possible. After arriving, they were ushered into a castle where they met Mifune in his office. So you 5 are the one who Hokage Dano sent?" Mifune asked as he leaned back in his seat, watching the squad of ANBU sitting in front of him. "Yes. If it is possible, we have some questions that might help us," Kakashi stated. He was decided to be the speaker of the group. Mifune nodded his head and motioned the dog-masked ANBU to ask the questions. "Do you know which villages were attacked first?" Kakashi asked. Mifune stayed quiet for a few moments until he nodded and placed a scroll from his desk. The scroll was the map of Land of Iron with every village on it. Mifune pointed at a village that was in the north of the land. "Yes, this was the first village that we lost the contract with," Mifune said, and pointed at the ocean that was a little above the village. "The only problem is that the only way to get to the village is to pass many border patrols by which we are constantly informed about everything. The only way that they could get there unseen is either some underground or from the ocean, which we also patrol with ships," the general said, and looked at the ANBU, only to see that Tenzo was taking notes. "That is surely unsettling. Can you show us which villages were already destroyed and in which order?" Kakashi requested as he said Tezno to take notes on this as well. Mifune pointed at the first village and then moved right, at east. These 3 villages were destroyed in 3 days. He then trailed his finger even further to the right. This one followed next. He then pointed at one village that was at the north coast. "This village was destroyed yesterday. When we heard that someone is destroying our villages, we send a messenger to notify all villages evacuation." "He died before he could say anything," the old samurai said. The 6 persons were in silence. The only sound was the pencil writing in a small notepad. "What about Hazeimi village?" asked a voice. All turned towards the voice and saw that it was Naruto who asked. Mifune looked at the map, and indeed the Hazeimi village, that was on the right side of the first village, wasn't reported to be destroyed. "Yes, this is the only village that is still intact in the north. We tried to send messengers but no one was able to reach the village, not a samurai or a messenger bird," Mifune answered. "If you would have to guess, then how long will it take for Hazeimi to be attacked?" Kakashi asked as he started to formulate a plan of action. The old general took out another scroll from his desk and showed it to the silver-haired ANBU. "If our calculations are correct, then the attacker needs a week to reoccupy before the attacks. At least that is what happened between the first and second village, which was confirmed between 4th and 5th village," Mifune said, gaining a nod from Kakashi. But the ANBU turned to look back at Mifune, who closed his eyes for a moment. "That might be because of the larger than usual amount of samurai in the first village. And if we are correct, then when the 4th village has been attacked, a group of about 20 samurai was right there," he said. "So you think that they need this 1 week to regroup and rest after a fight?" Kakashi asked and got a nod from Mifune. "Is there a chance that your samurai got in their way today?" The silver-haired man questioned, and this time the general shook his head. "No, I am sure that we had no samurai in this village in the past 3 days, the old samurai stated. Kakashi was quiet for a moment until he nodded to Mifune. "Thank you for answering. I think that I have a plan for now," the dog-masked ANBU said, and turned to his teammates. "We will do the following. We will rest for 2 hours and then we will continue," Kakashi said, and turned to Mifune. "I hope you don't mind?" the silver-haired ANBU asked. "Not in the least. I have already prepared a room for you if you plan to stay overnight," the samurai said, and Kakashi turned back to his team. "If we go at Chunin speed, then we should arrive at Hazeimi before the sun goes down," the captain said, and got 4 nods in response. "Then let's get some rest." 4 hours later, Hazeimi. The trip to the village has taken around 2 hours for the ANBU squad since they weren't rushing there as fast as they did to Land of Iron. The team was now walking up a small hill after which was their destination, with Kakashi leading the group. Behind him were Naruto on the left, Yugao in the middle, and Shursui on the right. Behind the 3 was Tenzo, watching their backs. Suddenly the group abruptly stopped when Kakashi froze in mid-step. "Something wrong, Taicho?" Yugao asked as she looked at their captain, who only pointed forward. Being curious, the other 4 ANBU broke from the formation and gasped when they saw what waited for them behind the hill. About a kilometer from the hill, the Hazeimi village burning houses illuminated the night sky. As the squad watched, they couldn't help but have only one thought, which Shursui abruptly voiced. "I am possible," the Uchiha muttered as they watched as one of the higher buildings collapsed to the ground and exploded in a show of fire. Kakashi suddenly jerked and looked over his shoulder to his teammates. "Let's go, maybe we are not too late," Dog shouted and started to run towards the burning village, closely followed by his team. As the team neared the village, they heard screams from various directions. Not even looking at his team, Kakashi started to give orders. Team A, check out the screams on left. Team B, check the screams on the right. I will see if there is anyone alive in the center of the village. Kakashi barked, and the A and BU squad took their respective part of village. Naruto and Tenzo rushed as fast as possible towards where they heard a loud cry of pain. As they neared, they saw a wooden house which hasn't been lit on fire yet. The two nodded to each other, and Tenzo rushed through the door while Noro jumped through the window. It didn't take longer than a second to see what was happening inside, and without waiting for any second, Naruto made 4 quick hand seals and crimson lighting started to run around his right hand. Suzaka! The blonde ANBU shouted as his right hand cut cleanly through the attacker's torso, destroying the heart in a second. The blonde heard a roar on his left, and out of the corner of his vision, he saw a beast jump at him with a bared fang. Before the beast could try to bite the blonde, it was cut in two by Tenzo, who used chakra to make his ninjato's cutting power stronger. Now that Naruto couldn't see or sense any danger nearby, he looked around. He was standing in a living room with a corpse at his feet. 2 or 3 meters to his left was lying another corpse, a male, and next to the man was lying a corpse of a woman. Both of them looked to be in early 30. The blonde looked if there was someone else in the room and was shocked when he saw a girl near his age sitting on her knees and looking at the adults' bodies with wide eyes. Naruto turned to Tenzo, who already was looking at the blonde, and nodded to the older man. Seeing this, Tenzo nodded back and walked out of the rooming house to try and sense if there are any more survivors. Naruto walked to the girl and shook her by her shoulder after seeing that she was still alive, and he couldn't see any wound on her. "Hey there," Naruto said as softly as he could. The girl's hollow eyes traveled slowly to Naruto, and then her gaze slowly moved to where the attacker was. Before Naruto could react, the girl leaped forward and hugged the blonde fiercely, as if her life depended on it. The blonde placed his right hand on her back and started to rub her back while whispering soothing words to her. After a minute, Naruto pulled back of the hug and looked at the girl. Now that he had a good look on her, he couldn't help but think that in a few years she would be really beautiful. The girl had pale skin, gray eyes, and shaggy black hair that reached her. Her attire consisted of a simple knee-length white dress, a light cardigan, and brown boots. "So, what is your name?" Naruto asked as he started to lift the girl to her feet. She was hesitant for a moment, and answered first when she was on her feet. "Mikasa Ackerman Mikasa," she said quietly while Naruto wiped her tears away. The blonde nodded and started to lead her outside. "I shouldn't be doing this," Naruto told himself. "Well, my name is Namikaze Naruto, nice to meet you, Mikasa-chan," he said and ushered her to go outside. When they exited the house, Naruto looked back at Mikasa. "Well, I must take you away from here, because it will be dangerous here in a moment," Naruto stated. Mikasa's red and puffy eyes widened as she hugged him once more. "No! Please don't leave me!" she pleaded. Naruto lifted her chin so he could look into her gray eyes. "Don't worry, I will meet you later, okay?" he asked, and the girl slowly nodded. Naruto made a single hand seal and a shadow clone puffed into existence next to him. "Alright, Mikasa-chan, my clone here will take you away for now," Naruto said as he pulled back from the girl. The clone walked over to Mikasa and lifted her in bridal style, and as he was about to shin away, Mikasa shouted. "Wait! See, can I please see your face?" she asked quietly while Naruto sighed in his mind. "I really shouldn't be doing this," he said to himself, and pulled the dragon mask off so Mikasa could see his face. The blonde gave her a soft smile, and with a wave, the clone used Shunshin to disappear. As soon as the replica got away, Naruto placed his mask back and turned to look at the roof of the house and saw Boar. "I have checked the right side of the village. No one is left alive," Tenzo commented, and Naruto nodded with a sigh. The blonde jumped then at the roof to stand next to Tenzo. "Let's head to Dog. I am sure that Team B has already finished," the blonde prodigy stated, and the two shined toward the center of the village. The two Mokuton users arrived in the middle of the village, which turned out to be a large marketplace. But every stand has been burned and collapsed or was on its way to do so. When they looked around, they saw Kakashi standing with Team B a few meters away from 11 persons. They quickly made their way towards their squad. Kakashi looked at them from the corner of his eye and muttered. Perfect timing, and his attention turned back to the 11 persons. When Naruto looked at them now, he saw that 5 of the persons looked identically. Each of them was an adult male with tan skin and average height. They all were bald and had pitch black eyes. They had no shirts on, only shoulder places made of black metal. They all were wearing dark brown pants, and had shin guards made of black metal as well. They all had a pair of simple brown boots. What shocked Naruto was that each of them had a long bone sticking out from each of their forearms, which were formed like spears and were long enough to extend further than their hands. Another thing was their faces, or more exactly their mouths. Each of them had a disturbing grin on their face, but the worst thing was their teeth, or more exactly the razor-sharp bones that replaced the teeth. But let's not forget about this one bone that stuck out of their head and looked like it could cut off a head without any problem. His eyes then turned to another 5 persons, or in this case beasts. Each of those bone men had a beast on their right side that looked like a wolf. The problem with the beasts was that they all were made of bones and were bigger than him. The blonde esteemed that if the beast would stand on their hinder legs, then the beast would be at least 2.5 meters high. As Naruto looked to the beast face, he saw that it looked like a normal wolf's. The only differences were that it also had bones instead of teeth, and that the eyes of the beast were full crimson, no pupil or sclera. Behind each of the beasts were long tails made of purely sharp bones. Naruto assumed that the only weak point of the beast is the face or the neck, which also looked unprotected by the bones. The young Anbuyu's eyes then wandered to the last person of the group and Naruto unconsciously moved his hand towards his kunai holster. This man was huge. He was easily 2.5 meters high and his large muscles were displayed because he has no shirt on himself. He also had no shoulder plates, instead, he had 5 sharp bones sticking out of his shoulders. Naruto saw that the man didn't have bones sticking out of his forearms, instead, he had a forearm protector made of bones. On each of his cheek were 3 red circles painted next to each other in a line. He was wearing black shorts and once again he had no shin guards, but he had a layer of bones protecting his shins. Naruto saw something picking over the man's right and left the shoulder and on closer inspection, Naruto saw that it was handles of swords, made of bone. The man also had a large grin on his face with bones on in the place of his teeth. What unsettled Naruto, even more, was the man's eyes burned a very light shade of blue but his iris moved like a fire. The Dragon Master Anbyu didn't catch up what Kakashi and the big man were talking about, but Naruto was sure as hell that it didn't go right because the 5 bone man and beast rushed at squad row while the big man stood back and watched. Naruto jumped back as a beast tried to bite him, and while he was midair he took out his ninjato and blocked a swipe at his head by the bone man. Naruto ducked when the man tried to slash him with his other hand and launched a sweeping kick at the man, but had to quickly retreat his foot and jumped back to his feet when the bone man jumped up and the beast tried to bite Naruto's leg off. Dragon quickly made a hand seal and appeared 15 meters away from his 2 opponents. The blonde swallowed hard and prepared for the fight because he was sure that it wouldn't be easy, and his teammates wouldn't be able to help him this time. With sure sway, the Uchiha activated his Sharingan, and thanks to it was able to predict what his opponent would do. Crow saw the bone man jump into the air and tried to pierce Sure Sway with both of his blades. Luckily for Sure Sway, the man was high enough for the Uchiha to roll under his feet. As soon as he finished his roll, he saw the beast jumping at him with its maw open. Sure Sway moved forward at an amazing speed and was able to catch the beast by the neck and the 2 hinder legs. He was about to break the neck of the beast, but he saw of the corner of his eye that bone man was running at him with a right wide sweep. Deciding to use the man, Sure Sway threw the beast at the bone man's already outstretched hand. The young Uchiha narrowed his eyes when he saw that the bone man's blade didn't even leave a scratch on the beast's bones armor. The Uchiha made several hand seals at neck-breaking speed and jumped high into the air. Katan, Great Dragon Fire Jutsu! He shouted while a horse-sized head of a Chinese dragon flew at the 2 bone fighters. Suddenly a large explosion occurred and pushed Sure Sway to use body replacement to avoid getting hit. The Uchiha replaced himself with leftovers of a stand and hid behind another stand that was still big enough to hide him. He peeked over the stand and his eyes widened when the beast sniffed the air twice and then turned to where the Uchiha was. Before Sure Sway could do anything, the bone man opened his eyes and a large quantity of orange fire erupted from his mouth and flew at the black-haired teen. With Tenzo, when he saw the bone fighters rush at his squad, he wasted no time and started making a sequence of hand seals. He ended with the snake seal and root erupted from the ground and started to attack the bone man and his beast. Tenzo's 2 enemies weren't destroying the roots fast enough, making them unable to engage Tenzo, but at the same time, the Bormaste Anbyu agent knew that prolonged use of this jutsu would drain his chakra reserves too fast, making him useless later in the fight. He hoped that he would have enough chakra to analyze the bone fighters' fighting style so that he would be prepared to fight them. An even better version was that the bone man or his beast would do a mistake, enabling Tenzo to catch them in the binding of his jutsu. If the second option would come true, those roots would be almost unbreakable and would suck out the bone man's chakra out until Tenzo let him, which he wouldn't do, or until he dropped dead because of the lack of chakra. Of course, the Bormastambu knew that it was only wishful thinking and sooner or later he would have to engage the bone fighter and his beast in a real fight. Oh well, even Anbyu were allowed to dream.